the maternal father of the Pokémon world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 551, The Truth. So you guessed that I was coming. Yi looked at Aging with a gloomy expression. Yes, you said before that it was Fancy who killed everyone in the order of our 4 families and then committed suicide. I felt something was wrong. Although Ayaka married me, she is obviously from the Akimichi family. So the people the murderer wants to kill are not just Sarutobi, Shimura, Transfer, Mito, the 3rd generation group of the Konoha Ninja village, but there is also Akimichi. In addition to Mr. Gento, that is, Uchiha, the 2nd generation of Konoha Ninja village, to protect the 6 people in the right order. So, we are still missing from the Shimura family, and now you are here to kill me, right? Indeed, in the legend, if it were the 2nd generation Hokage's bodyguard, then in addition to Hirozen Sarutobi, Danzo Shimura, Koharu, and Mito Kabuto, Kagami Uchiha and Tofu Akimichi would be included. On the one hand, sequential killings are on the one hand, but on the other hand, Ajing feels that, if Yui is the murderer, there is a very good reason to kill him, to avenge Mr. Zuenren. Just like when she married Yi Liang, although Ajing had no idea what his wife and friends were doing before, but this incident did happen because of him. So after Ajing guessed this, he didn't mention it to anyone else, but prepared to end it with Yui himself. Whether he is avenging his friends or Yui wants to kill him to avenge Zuenren, he must end it. As he said this, Ajing had already taken out the elf ball and confronted Yui. But after Yui took 2 steps forward, he suddenly turned around and looked out the door and said, "No, you still don't understand. I'm here to save you from the clutches of the real murderer." I saw that there were many shadows outside the door, and there seemed to be several figures. The one who opened the door first, Aunt Darren? Ajing asked in surprise. The person who walked in with a gloomy face at this time was the aunt from the Sarutobi family, who usually seemed very kind, as expected of a member of the Junsha clan. Even if his blood is not pure, he still has brains. Darren said with a gloomy face at this time. What? Did you kill Fancy? In Ajing's impression, Darren usually cared about Fancy very much. Hahaha, that kid is not my son. After I found out his identity from Linghua, I took away his treasure hunting notes. Don't worry, I will find the sealed book later and treat it as a treasure for your souls in heaven. It's for comfort. Hahaha. Darren laughed wildly. What? Is it for the treasure? Ajing said angrily. No, it shouldn't just be for the treasure. At least at the beginning, it should be because of the real cause of Mr. Zuenren's death, right? Although Yang and the others changed the position of the obstacles on the training ground, the real reason why Mr. Zuenren fell off the cliff should be more than that. Yan and the others should also be suspicious. Yui said at this time, having already released his wind speed dog. That's right. In order to hurt that guy, I asked my baby to secretly use Dragon Wave to sneak attack its Styrophosaurus, but who knew that Styrophosaurus was already so old, it just fell off the cliff is gone. Darren said, revealing a 3-headed evil dragon behind her. Ajing and others didn't know before that Darren actually had such a powerful Pokémon. Those little guys were hiding nearby at the time. After Zuenren fell off the cliff, they rushed out in a hurry. They didn't know what was going on. They seemed to be in a panic. They thought they made Zuenren fall, although Yang and Koji seems to have noticed the Dragon Wave, but thanks to their timidity, they did not dare to report to Junsha, but hid the matter. Darren said unscrupulously at this time. As written in the exchange diary, Yiling and others always thought that it was they and others who caused Zuenren's accidental death. In addition, Gansuk also disappeared in an avalanche 6 years ago. Yui thought he was dead, so in order to investigate the truth about Mr. Gento's death, she married the suspicious Yang. Later, Yiling also revealed something about fluctuation in his nightmares, but no matter how Yui pressed him, Yiling never dared to say it. It wasn't until half a year ago that Yang discussed with Koji again and wanted to tell what happened that year, but Darren found out about it and silenced them first. Darren actually didn't know who the 4 people were before. He only knew that the woman among them must be Ayaha. As for the 4th person, whether it was Ajing or Fancy, Darren didn't know until it was daytime when she took air. Who cheated out, so why did you want to harm Mr. Zuenren? Ajing said angrily. His friends acted on Mr. Zuenren's training ground because of him, but Darren definitely didn't do it because of him. It's all that bastard. He is the champion every year, and there are 0 mistakes in every celebration. I can't open my casino at all, Darren said with a ferocious expression. What? Casino? Ajing was stunned when he heard this, because of this kind of thing. Haha, so you are the one in the way now. As long as you die, the Dragon Night Festival and the Book of Ceilings will all be in my possession, Darren said. To Ajing. In recent years, Ajing has been like Zuenren, winning championships and celebrating without mistakes one after another. Ah, you ready to die in the fire? After discovering what his friends had done, Kenny Shimura set himself on fire at home out of guilt and died. But now it seems that, in order to investigate the cause of Zuanjin's death, he mistakenly believed that his lover also died in the accident. The female Junsha married one of the murderers, found out the truth, and finally killed Shimura K to avenge the admired Gento. This ending is more reasonable. Hahaha. Darren has already thought of how to end the matter, and after she finished speaking, she opened the door completely and saw that besides her, there were more than a dozen guys outside who didn't look like good people. Her underground casino was obviously not a one-person business. Oh. Then can you tell this poor Miss Junsha what's going on with the treasure? Why you? I asked calmly at this time. Hahaha, you should die with regrets. Darren probably thought that as a villain, as long as he didn't talk too much, he wouldn't die. But, at this moment, he pulled the door out of the cabinet on the side and said, is it because of the way it was opened? Hanji and the others actually found the true location of the treasure half a year ago, and they also discovered that the treasure requires Serutobi, Shimura, Transfer, and Mito. The 4 collections of armor can be opened, but, in the end, they guessed wrong and failed to open the treasure, which made them think that the treasure did not exist. It was only after settling their worries that Jiang and Koji wanted to surrender, but, in fact, they probably misunderstood. What they need is not the 4 families representing the 3rd Hokage group, but the 6 families representing the 2nd Hokage's guards. Then take away the armor here, and Ms. Darry will gather it. Have you got all the keys? What? How did you know? Darren said in shock. Of course Fancy told us. After seeing that it was you who did it, Fancy also understood that they did not mistake the treasure, but were deceived by you. You should have peeked at the diary in advance, and in the cave, where the treasure was hidden. Did you mislead me? Conan also came out of the cabinet on the other side and asked, did you see me take action? Could it be? Darren's face turned ugly. At this time, the door leading to the corridor on the other side was also opened, and Amu walked in and said, the big character flame explosion. It was just dropping the tail. It was almost exposed at that time. Fortunately, I dared to help. The police also understood what I meant and drove you away from the scene. You actually. Darren's face turned pale when he saw Eminem. Obviously, in her opinion, Eminem was the most difficult one to deal with. No, there are people who are earlier than us. You shouldn't be able to take this armor away, Eminem said, looking at the armor saved by the Shimura family. At this moment, the war armor actually stood up, and it was clear that Gansu had been hiding inside. To help the police department. You heard it, right? Amu asked with a smile at this time. Of course, the prisoner's wonderful confession. This police department has. No. I mean someone here just now said that a certain female Junsha mistakenly thought that her lover died in an accident. To help. Chapter 552 Evolution. Damn it. You all die. Seeing that the conspiracy was exposed, Darren had no choice but to jump over the wall and make a desperate move. Among the Pokémon released, in addition to the 3 evil dragons at the head, there is also a different colored servant sword general. The ordinary servant sword general is red and black as a whole, and the different colored servant sword general it's blue and black. It seemed that the person who was pretending to be a ghost last night was not Darren himself, but the servant sword general. Servant Sword is the evolved form of Commander Cleaver, and its biggest feature is that there is a huge blade on the top of its head. The Pokémon and the other miscellaneous soldiers are mostly Hiraga, Tank Skunk, and Hora, and they don't look like good people point at this time. Eminem and others also released their Pokémon. Hiji also has Commander Cleaver, as well as Onion Ranger and Sickle Helmet. Gansuk and Yui both have Wind Speed Dog. Gansuk also has Boom Monster, and the late Gento the patrolman like Spirosaurus. Yui also has Fairy Eevee and Sonic Dragon Pointerjing, who knew the real enemy. Also rode the Strange Jaw Dragon again. Conan didn't release any Pokémon at this time, but the power of the Wava Guide was already shining on his belt. The battle between the two sides was about to break out. Hiji's commander of the cutting sword directly approached the opponent's sword general and started fighting. But General Sword, as the final evolution of Commander Cleaver, still has great advantages, but no matter whether he wins or not, all he has to fight for is the spirit of a bright sword. Commander Cleaver faces his larger servant sword general, swings the double swords of his arms, and confronts the opponent's arms and the third sword above his head, a knife. Upon seeing this, Eminem also sent Leoban and Zyuoji to confront the three evil dragons. Although Leoban is also a quasi-god, there is still a big difference in racial values between a quasi-god that has not evolved to its final form and a truly fully evolved quasi-god, especially the three-headed evil dragon. 64 levels can evolve. And Arang's three evil dragons are conservatively estimated to be level 70. Leoban, who has not yet evolved, is definitely not capable, but there are small planes to help. The three evil dragons of Evil plus Dragon were tightly restrained by the fairy type. Although the level gap was a bit large, with 2 against 1, they really withstood the attack of the three evil dragons for the time being. At the same time, Dali and Alan both inspired Mega Evolution at this time, after previously teleporting the little bad bear to Dr. Jumu's research institute. Amu still had a free position not long ago. Eminem picked up Ars1 over just for now. As soon as Mega Heracross lowered his head, he started to strafe the enemies with missile needles. Continuously, the Mega Frog stretches out dozens of vines, whipping enemies around and supporting other teammates. The Pokémon that dared to help were not given in vain. Not only was the young spirited Spinosaurus passed down from Mr. Zuarjin running rampant, but at the same time Boom Monster just opened his mouth and made an echo, and Yui didn't have to command him. Directly connect Fairy Eevee to Echo, Sonic Dragon, and then connect to Echo. In this way, when the booming monster skill was ready again, an Echo almost cleared the field, and all the soldiers said they couldn't bear it. At the same time, the servant sword general lowered his head and struck the double swords of Commander Paizen with 3 swords. Seeing that Commander Paizen was about to lose his arms, at the critical moment, Hiji pulled out the blade on his armor and cooperated with Commander Cleaver. After all, Hiji was a kendo trainer and had fighting ability himself. Counting Hiji, 3 swords vs 3 swords again. General Servant Sword shook his head and blocked Hiji with his horizontal sword, sending him back several steps. At this moment, Commander Knife also flashed the power of steel on his head and struck him with an iron head. The Servant Sword General was knocked back. The 3 evil dragons were blinded by the small plane at first, but soon became ferocious. The heads on the 2 arms withstood the attack and bit the wings of the small plane. At this moment, Leoban hit him with a jet charge, knocking the 3 evil dragons back. Immediately, the 3 evil dragons were not to be outdone and bit back fiercely. Faced with Crush, Shakiras used Sharp Stone attack without giving in, and the huge piton rose directly from the ground. And rise. It seems that the room where the Shimura's armor is displayed is about to be demolished. The next moment, I saw the 3 evil dragons screaming in agony as they were stabbed by the pitons, and couldn't help but let go. At this time, cracks appeared in the hard shell outside the body of Shakira's pork. Taking advantage of this gap, Pockets hit the face of 3 evil dragons at close range with a magic shine, and everyone felt a glare. When he saw clearly again, he saw that the 3 evil dragons and the servant sword general had fallen to the ground and fainted. At the same time, Commander Cleaver and Shakilas, who had just fought hard, now shone with the glory of evolution. Eminem was relieved when he saw this, and he let go of the lightning bird ball that he had been holding. The condition for Commander Cleaver To evolve into servants or general is to defeat enough members of the same clan to gain strong confidence and become the leader of the same clan. Now that he has defeated servants or general, 1 is more powerful than 10 more, and Eminem's old class has almost reached the stage of evolution, and this battle can be regarded as a good catalyst. After the light of evolution flashed, a huge blade appeared on the originally bald head of Commander Cleaver, and Shaculus had emerged from its cocoon, and was no longer what it was before. From its original cocoon form with no limbs, it evolves into the monster form of Bangulus, although after Leoban evolves into Bangerus, he will no longer have the ground attribute, but will become rock plus evil. For Eminem, the adaptability is slightly weaker. After all, now for Eminem, the compatibility of the ground type is better than that of the evil type, but Eminem still chose to let Leoban evolve as soon as possible. If the evolution is deliberately delayed, Leoban's level may be higher by the time of the competition. However, Shaculus and Bangulus not only have different attributes, but it will take time to master the evil type moves. And more importantly, the body postures of the two are so different, and their activities are also very different. It takes a long time to adapt after evolution. It can even be said that the combat experience before evolution will be invalid in 9 cases out of 10. Therefore, Eminem had better make Leoban evolve as soon as possible to adapt to the new body. Jiang class, seeing that his side was defeated like a mountain, and the opponents became an evolved one after another. Darren already knew that the end was over, but he still shouted with a desperate struggle, "No, wait. I'm from Team Rocket. Shut up. Shameless guy. Our Rockets have long felt that you are not a good person and that there are big problems with your cooperation with us, so you sent me here to verify it." Kojiro also stood up at this time. Kojiro actually didn't know what was going on, but not long ago, Eminem found him, confirmed the identity of his collaborator with him, and told him that Darren was probably a perverted murderer. Kojiro was shocked at the time, so he followed Eminem's arrangement. When Darren used the power of Team Rocket to inquire about Ayaka's situation at the hospital, he gave false news. At the same time, he also came forward to draw a clear line. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 553 Treasure Hunt. Alliance November 18th, 200, early morning. In Hubi Town. 3 cases spanning 6 years have finally been solved. The haze that shrouded several villages finally began to dissipate. Darren and his accomplices were taken away by the Juntious. What awaits them will be the trial of justice and law. Ayaka and Fancy, who were saved because of Eminem, decided to atone for what happened to Zhu and Ren back then, although they were not the ones who caused Zhu and Ren to fall off the cliff. But it was indeed their refusal to save Zhu and Ren, who was discovered a week later has become a corpse. After a battle with Darren's associates, Ajing decided to inherit Mr. Zhu and Ren's legacy and continue to participate in the Dragon Knight competition to become the strongest Dragon Knight in Hubi Town. Yui also opened her heart and decided to return to Juntia's post. After dawn, Eminem, Shijiji who had explained the problem, Ayaka who had just been discharged from the hospital, Akui and Hiji who came to help, and Sakura who volunteered, put on their borrowed battle armor, and then came the cave where Fancy and the others hunted for treasure. When Sakura learned that there was a fight last night, but she didn't know it, she complained to Eminem. At this time, Shijiji was wearing the armor of the Sarutobi family, Akui was wearing the armor of the Shimura family, Ayaka was wearing the armor of the Akimichi family, Hiji was wearing the borrowed armor of the Transfer family, and Sakura was wearing the armor of the Mito family, the battle armor. As a person with eternal flame, of course Eminem wears the Uchiha family's battle armor. As Eminem and Hiji were the major contributors to solving the case, it was natural for him to borrow the battle armor smoothly. However, this method of opening the treasure has already made Eminem guess that what is hidden here is not the sealed book, at least not the real sealed book in its entirety. The reason is simple. This method of hiding treasures is obviously a treasure left by the ancestors of several families who migrated back then, and not by the real second Hokage point, that is to say, even the Book of Sealings is only the content of the Book of Sealings brought by the ancestors of these families when they migrated, and most of them were not the true direct descendants of these families. However, with the passage of time, especially the antagonism between the Shimura family and the Sarutobi family, the descendants of the 6 families themselves have forgotten this matter, but even so, Eminem is still very interested. It's open. Fancy was also a little excited point after the mechanism was opened. A small platform rose up. Looking at the scale of this mechanism, Eminem was a little disappointed. It was completely different from the mysterious mechanism of Nanga Shrine. It felt completely Keksu style. But thankfully, there is indeed a volume of sealed book on the table. Eminem took it off at this time and unfolded it under the nervous eyes of several other people. It turns out that the first half is all nonsense. Sure enough, it was just a copy of the Book of Sealings. The first half was about how the 6 families went through all kinds of hardships across the Quartz Plateau, from Kanto to Johto. Then there is the form of ancestral exchange diaries, which record the ancestors of the 6 families, starting with the quarrel between the Sarutobi family and the Shimura family. Finally, they brought out some records of forbidden techniques halfway through. Eminem's face was already filled with helplessness, while Fancy and Akui were laughing endlessly. Fortunately, when they saw the back, there were still some valuable gains, not just the fragmentary thoughts of the ancestors of the 6 families. Although not complete, there are indeed 3 forbidden techniques developed by the second Hokage on it. Multiple shadow clones, stand, plus, shadow clone, need to be fused and awakened, and the Pokémon used must have sufficient physical strength. 4 symbol seal, awakened by, rock seal. 8 gate Dungia, awakened by, abdominal drum. The side effects are huge, only these 3 types, but it's not bad. Eminem felt that the harvest was greater than expected. So I took a photo of the above record first. He is worthy of being a master of forbidden arts in the Ninja Village era. Any of these 3 awakening methods can support a gym school now. He, as the Ninja Village controller, began to boast again. Seeing that he was advocating the past and downgrading the present, Eminem struck at the side. You have to really be able to practice it. This is definitely more difficult, and the practice method is more vague than any modern mature school, and I heard that a lot of the Nidame's original Book of Sealings was imaginary. Huh. You look very dissatisfied. I don't know who it is. As soon as I heard it was the Book of Sealings, I went to look for it. Now I'm getting tough. He also ridiculed Eminem's resentment after masturbating. Ugly behavior. I just took a look, Amu said, making sure that every page was clearly illuminated. He curled his lips when he saw this. At this moment, Eminem suddenly seemed to hear something. He held his glasses on his ears and said, "Ah, my egg seems to be hatched. I won't tell you anymore. Go ahead and send this back for me." After Eminem finished speaking, he took off his red war armor and immediately mounted a horse. Midway through, Eminem got another help signal and quickly urged Yuma even more. At this time, in the nest of the Muke Bird, the Muke Bird was confronting the beast in a 1vs1 manner. As for the other Muke Birds, not long ago, another group of monkeys came and stole the eggs of 2 real Muke Birds, so a large number of Muke Birds chased them out. However, even if it was alone, this Muke Bird still abided by the responsibility of mother, spread its wings, and circled with Hangler in the nest. This Hangler is also really vindictive, always looking for opportunities, and today it took advantage of other Hangler to launch an offensive. Because the own egg was about to hatch, the Muke Bird had not chased it out before, but now it has been attacked by Hangler and has several wounds on its body. More importantly, the toxins are eroding its body. If it were outside, the muck bird could still fly around and fight with its ability, but now it must protect the eggs in the nest. In this small environment, the croaking claws are constantly attacking. Muke Bird has wounds on his body. And Noah, there are many methods, but the absolute combat effectiveness is very poor. After all, Eminem did not specifically train it to fight, but let it continue to learn various knowledge. Seeing that the Muke Bird was about to encounter a vicious attack, the Zuanla egg on the side hatched out. The newly born little Zuanla, while shouting KKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKKK The newly born little Zuanla? The opponent's claws opened a long wound directly on his back. Fortunately, at this moment, Eminem arrived at the cliff point. I saw Eminem riding a motorcycle lizard and rushed to the entrance of the nest at the critical moment, directly blocking this abominable beast. Chapter 554. Anger. Hurry, hurry. I saw that in the nest of the muke bird, Hangler was first pulled out by the tail of motor lizard and then caught by Pockets. It flew away to an unknown direction, leaving only a bunch of miserable animals. Call at this time, Eminem immediately applied wound medicine and detoxification medicine to little Zuanla and muke bird. Eminem had medicines on him at this time. At this time, Eminem realized through the light that there was something not quite right about the little Zuanla look. Its body was not black, but mainly silver. For a moment, Eminem thought it was a different color, but he immediately realized something was wrong. In addition to the color, the body of this little Zuanla has significantly larger proportions of claws, and it clearly exudes a poison aura. Although Zuanla has venom glands and its claws are poisonous, it is not of the poison type. This is the ancient Zuanla. Amu realized that it was a matter of species and looked at Noah at the same time. At this time, Amu discovered that in the nest, carved out of the small rock wall, there were some mosaic arrangements, some of which were bonfires and some of which were water drops. That is, water drops that increase temperature and humidity set up. Eminem immediately realized that Noah had mediated the environment for incubation. After a brief exchange with Noah while treating the wound, Eminem also understood that after Noah discovered that Zuanla had ancient differences, he spontaneously simulated the ancient environment. The reason why I didn't specifically notify Eminem is this is also to ensure that the little Hura can be hatched smoothly and it doesn't necessarily have to be transformed into an ancient Pokémon, because the incubation environment here is indeed not suitable for the incubation of Zuanla eggs. From the temperature, humidity, altitude, and ventilation, it is far from the Zuanla nest. Modern Zuanla has the attribute of ice and the evil type exclusive to the big villain. Although the ancient Zuanla has a colder environment, it has the dual element of fighting plus poison. In comparison, the incubation environment at the muke bird's nest is more like a wolf. In recent times, the temperature is much higher than the current Zuanla's lair, and it is on a rock wall. Modern Zuanla is also good at climbing, but you can tell by looking at the claws of the ancient Zuanla. In comparison, the ancient Zuanla is more. It is good at climbing and digging holes, and can even be said to live in cliffs and underground caves. And if you look at the attributes of the fighting type, you will know that it is definitely different from the evil type. It is less obscene and better at frontal. Both the living environment and habits are different from modern Zuanla. Due to the incubation environment. In order to ensure that this horror egg could hatch normally, Noah took advantage of the fact that the genes in it were still unstable and guided it in the direction of ancient Hura, while also improving it a bit. The environment of the nest. As a result, the last thing hatched was this silver ancient beast. Compared with the modern Zuanla, not only the body color is different, but also the claws are larger. At the same time, like the modern Zuanla, the left ear is obviously longer, but it is a very poisonous lavender color instead of red. Kiju? Kiju? Zio Zuanla was also very familiar with Amu's breath, and was not afraid. However, at this time, he made a confused sound. But this doubtful voice made Eminem also confused. Isn't that what Hanglar is called? I saw little Zuanla looking at his paws in confusion. Ahem. Little Zuanla, you are different from ordinary Zuanla. Your claws are just bigger. Amu also wanted to explain to it that it was a special Zuanla. But at this moment, Zio Zuanla made a flapping movement of wings and jumped. Seeing that it had no effect, he became even more confused. KGGG, slim, shady. Obviously, it is not wondering why its fur is silver or why its claws are so big. But I'm wondering why I don't have wings. That's right. Pokémon have egg memories, so generally Pokémon that hatch by themselves will be more familiar with and have a better understanding of their trainers. And this little monster, before it hatched, was obviously Mukia. No, 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 don't try this. Seeing that it was about to rush out, Amu tried to fly and quickly hugged it back the moment it jumped out of the cave. You are not a Muke or a Muke. You are Zunla, Jingu Zunla. No, 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 this is not a bad thing. Amu saw that little Zunla was feeling depressed for no reason, so he began to try to enlighten it and make it accept the reality point at the same time. Muke Bird also held down the child at this time. Kiju. Kiju. Otherwise, it would like to try to see if it can fly. I saw little Zunla and her mother still communicating in a Kiju manner, speaking fluent Mu language. Point in the end, it accepted the reality. It turned out that it was not Mukia, but a crocodile, but it still looked a little depressed. Point the mother bird comforted it at this time. Eminem also came up to pat him and said, "Don't look like this. No matter what you are, you will be my travel companion from now on. Ahem. I mean, no matter what you are, you were born because of love." Kiju? Zyro Zunla opened his big eyes and looked at Eminem blinkingly. Point well, although the modern ancient one is not cute, it looks much cuter than the modern one with triangular eyes. Kiju. The mute bird came over at this time, flapping its wings and blocking the little Zunla, as if to prevent Amu from being abducted. Ahem. Look, the little Zunla has hatched, and it can't live here forever, right? Amu and Muknir discussed. You should also have discovered that mute bird and Zunla, even the ancient Zunla, has a different living environment. If it weren't for Noah's help, it might not be able to hatch normally. Huh. Could it be? Forget it. Let's continue. Eminem suddenly reacted. Point could it be that the ferocious beast wanted to snatch back the eggs of its accomplices, not just to vent its anger? Generally speaking, although Hangler is prone to internal strife, it does not hold grudges against its fellow tribesmen. Point. After attacking little Zunla before, it stopped immediately, and Eminem arrived soon after, but Eminem didn't think much about it. As a Pocus, the little plane wouldn't kill anyone. Even the despicable hero is still a wild Pokémon after all, and hunting is part of their life. It is also a part of nature, and cannot all be measured by human eyes. Eminem said a lot, but in short it was for the good of the children. So, Zyro Zunla, it's better to come with me. Chapter 555 Failed to catch pigs. In the end, under the farewell of Mukinio's old mother, Amu took little Zunla away. Little Hura also said goodbye to his mother, but under the guidance of Eminem, he chose to embark on the path of self-realization and become a useful Pokémon, a Pokémon that escapes vulgar taste, because little Zunla was just born and was not suitable for too strict training or staying in the Pokéball all the time. Eminem sent it back to the Giantwood Research Institute, where there was also an ancient simulation that was very suitable for its environment. Point Dr. Jumu was also amazed that Amu found the newly born ancient Zunla again. Point of course, compared to Yu-Zayang, ancient Zunla is not a big discovery. There are still ancient Zunla in some places, but they are becoming less and less. Even if both parents of the already rare ancient Zunla are modern Zunla, there will be more and more modern Zunla in their descendants. This phenomenon exists in all modern and ancient species. The specific principle is still an unsolved mystery in the Pokémon academic world, and it is also one of the manifestations of the special nature of Pokémon genes. However, like Paidia, Yupo and Tawang, in the horror stage, it is still the same Pokémon, only distinguishing between ancient and modern, but the evolution of the two is different. It's a completely different Pokémon. The evolved form of modern horror is Mahara, while the evolved form of ancient horror is Big Horror. The evolved two are not different forms of the same Pokémon, but a completely different Pokémon. Ancient Zunla can give birth to modern Zunla under extremely special circumstances, such as now. Conversely, modern Zunla can also give birth to modern Zunla. Point. But if it is an evolved Mahula or Dahula, it can only give birth to the corresponding modern Zunla or ancient Zunla. This is why the modern Zunla can still persist tenaciously. A small part exists. It's just that in the wild environment, Hangler rarely evolves, and it doesn't evolve naturally as it grows. On November 20th, Eminem came to Hubi Town. Point. Hiji and Kazuha have left, and Uncle Kagoro also has a new plan. Xiaolan, Conan and Sonoko came to Hubi town with Eminem. There is also a small airport here. To leave the mountains on the day he arrived in Hubi town, Eminem took on the gym challenge. Hubi town also has an official gym, but it's for the ice type. After all, the stronger dragon type gyms are all in Yanmo City. Naturally, the dragon type gym in Hubi town can't compete with the restrained ice type. But no matter what department it is, it's just the third badge. For Eminem, it's not difficult at all. Afterwards, Eminem went to the post office in Hubi town and picked up the mountain boar mushroom sent by teacher Jumyu. This kind of mushroom is very attractive to the strong little mountain pig. The weaker little mountain pigs will get drunk by its smell and will not come to it. For the evolved long-haired pigs, the taste is too sweet and not mature enough. For Eminem, it can be said to be the best auxiliary bait for selecting Pokémon to capture. Therefore, during the few days that Eminem stayed in Hubi town, he went to fish for pigs outside the town every day, effectively avoiding acting with Conan. In this way, when I come back every night, I will hear Yuanzi mention the cases that I encountered during the day. At least I haven't actually encountered it in person. It's been 3 days, and you still haven't found the little wild boar you like. Little wild boars aren't very rare, right? Tomoyo asked during dinner. Maybe. It's too close to the town, Amu said helplessly. Then, do we need to change our reservation tomorrow? Sakura asked proactively. Eminem had discussed it with Tomoyo and Sakura from the beginning and set off for Kaji City on the 24th. The air tickets were booked from the beginning. That's why Xiaolan and Yuanzi stayed in Hubi town and traveled with Amu. They were all taking a plane anyway, and even Amu, who was in travel training, could not leave the mountains in the northeast of the city on foot. No, this season, there are also small wild boars near the Lake of Anger. Amu shook his head. Lake of Anger is the largest lake in the city, just north of Kaji City, and also the northernmost area of the city. Kaji City is located to the west of the mountains in the northeast. A few years ago, it was still Kaji Town. It was only because it was too large that it was renamed Kaji City. In fact, it is still a town. For the Alliance, the biggest difference between a city and a town is that a town has higher autonomy. Legend has it that a group of Gyarados came here and used rain together, permanently changing the terrain and weather here, turning a crater into a volcanic lake, which is now the Lake of Anger. I don't know whether this legend is true or not, but the climate of the Lake of Anger is indeed magical. Usually, there are land bridges in the lake that are muddy but passable. Especially in the west of the lake, there is a forest in the lake that can be walked through almost arbitrarily. However, when it rains and the lake level rises, most of these land bridges will be submerged and become a whole lake. Moreover, there is indeed some kind of power in the Lake of Anger that makes the weather here not completely follow the natural conditions. There is a lot of rain, and as long as it rains, it must be a heavy rain. Something like this cannot be analyzed from the natural environment. Climatic conditions can be seen in many places in the Pokémon world. It can generally be thought that the power of Pokémon, or the power of mythical beasts, has permanently changed something. Because the altitude is much lower than Hubi town in the mountains. Although the latitude of Lake of Anger is similar to Hubi town, the weather is much warmer in the middle of winter. The temperature in Kaji City can reach below zero. But the Lake of Anger does not freeze all year round, and the precipitation must be heavy rain instead of snow. Of course, as a cold zone, you can also see little mountain pigs around the Lake of Anger. Especially in winter, some small mountain pigs will come to Angry Lake from the eastern mountains. Lake area. However, after Eminem mentioned Lake of Anger, ZioAI seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly put down the bowl and chopsticks. Huh? Is ZioAI feeling uncomfortable? Ziolan said worriedly. It's okay, I'll ask her tonight. Amu changed the topic. Eminem did ask about ZioAI in the evening, and ZioAI also confided the Lake of Anger. When I was in the organization before, I seemed to have heard someone mention that there should be, at least it should have been a secret experimental base for the organization before. Chapter 556. The first time. The Lake of Anger. Is there a research institute of a dark organization? Amu confirmed to ZioAI with a strange look on his face. Well, I think I heard someone say that, but I didn't pay much attention to it at the time. Zio AI said seemingly calmly. Point if possible. Zio AI actually didn't want to buy us to Hushan Crossing, but just out of trust in Eminem, she didn't stop at point. However, it can be foreseen that, after going to Kaji City, Zio AI may not be as big-hearted as now. He often does not act with Eminem, but conducts experiments on his own. As for Kaji City, it should be where Liu Bo's jimmies, right? The Dark Organization has a secret research institute not far from Kaji City? Eminem was still a little confused. Maybe. The most dangerous place is the safest place. Zio AI said calmly, not paying too much attention to Amu's doubts. Uncle Liu is the former leader of the official gym in Kaji City. The reason why he is the predecessor is because Uncle Liu is old and, like Xiaoxia's father, the leader of the Bakuan gym, is no longer able to serve as the leader of the official gym. Point. However, Liu Bo students continued to serve as the official gym leaders, which was enough to calm the situation. Therefore, the official gym in Kaji City was still Liu Bo's ice gym, and Liu Bo only resigned in name. Point. In addition, Uncle Liu also has another identity, the second boss of Team Rocket, or the Frontier official. Point. Not only is he the top person in charge of the rockets in the Johto area, but also Yushu and Liha, one of the four kings of the Johto area, were both trained by Uncle Liu. In the Johto rocket team, Liu Bo's prestige was like covering the sky with one hand in the era of Sakaki's mother. Counting that after Sakaki inherited the position of Team Rocket leader, Liu Bo was actually more homeward, even when Sakaki took the position. Liu Bo also strongly supported it. Point. Naturally, Kaji City can also be said to be Liu Bo's hometown, which is also the hometown of the rockets in the Johto area. The Dark Organization actually has a secret research institute in the Lake of Anger not far north of Kaji City. It can be said to be full of contrast. Then, Amu was thinking about whether to let Zio AI go to Dr. Jumu's place first, or somewhere else. No, it doesn't matter to me. They don't know I'm here anyway, and, even if they do know, it's safer to be by your side, right? Mr. Bodyguard? Zio AI said, pretending to be relaxed. No, I should at least call him Mr. Knight at this time. Amu corrected unconvincedly. Point. On the morning of November 24th, Eminem and his party arrived at the small airport in Hubi Town, preparing to take a flight to Kaji City. This is the first time, right? Let's start from one city and go to another city together. Amu suddenly said to Yuanzi and Xiaolan, yes, after all, you have to go to the world to train and capture Pokémon every time. Although we also travel, we only follow the main road. Sonoko sighed at this time and looked at Tomoyo as he spoke. Point. Sonoko originally thought that Tomoyo was more squeamish than herself, but she never expected that Tomoyo could travel like this. In contrast, gardens that are always on the main road do not even really camp. If they are only on the main road, not only are there often outdoor hotels, but even if there are no hotels, you can definitely reach a large camping area every day. There are various supplies to replenish, and there will be other campers around. Point. Chai seemed to feel something at this time, and looked at Sonoko. Point. When the modest Yuanzi saw this, he immediately said not to be outdone. Of course, there are actually many dangerous and exciting things on the main road. For example, we often encounter robberies, thefts, and even arson and murders. There are all cases. Oh, really? That's really hard work. Tomoyo looked like he didn't believe it. Point. Slim Shady. Well, generally speaking, it wouldn't be so sinister, but, Yuanzi said this, but Eminem still believed it. But, this isn't the first time I've said it. Xiaolan interrupted at this time. Yuanzi and Amu looked over in confusion. The first time we went from town to town together was when we were in Ashwood Town, right? At that time, I also took a bus to Zenksen Town. Xiaolan said, feeling a little disappointed emotionally. Point. Eminem, on the other hand, said without noticing, that's right, what a coincidence. Now the four of us are still, Shinichi is no longer here. Eminem noticed that Conan was winking desperately, and then he realized what he was doing, and quickly stepped aside. Point. However, Yuanzi quietly pulled him at this time, thinking that Eminem accidentally touched Xiaolan's sad thing, but of course she didn't expect that Eminem had spilled the beans and told the truth. Sakura on the side seemed to hear something, and she quickly said, but everyone still has to look forward. Otherwise, I don't think the people who have become stars will. Ahem. Shinichi is still alive. They often talk on the phone, but they have been very busy in the past 6 months. Eminem interrupted quickly. How did this become a star? Huh? Oh, sorry. Sakura stuck out her tongue. She originally thought that Shinichi had become a star just like her mother. However, when she interrupted her, Xiaolan couldn't hold back her original sadness and laughed. Conan on the side also breathed a sigh of relief. Soon the group began the security check. The security check of airplanes is still stricter than that of other means of transportation, and all passengers' pokeballs will be locked. After all, as long as someone on the plane suddenly releases a few heavy Pokémon, it will cause danger. Not to mention, if you go out of your way to cause damage, any Pokémon will cause huge damage on the plane. If it is other means of transportation or places, you can also consider that there must be trainers among other passengers. If gangsters really commit crimes, the power of civilian trainers can also be checked, but airplanes are different. When real Pokémon fight at an altitude of 10,000 meters, everyone is still going to die. Except for the crew members and some passengers with special status. Everyone else must lock the elf ball. Of course, Eminem is also an exception, because Eminem was indeed honest. He handed over 6 Pokeballs, and was locked up after that. However, nothing was found wrong with the USB flash drive containing Noah. Not to mention, there was nothing wrong with the lightning bird ball discovered by the device. Moreover, the lightning bird ball is not among the 6 Pokeballs. Ordinary people would never expect that Eminem would have a 7th Pokeball. In addition to Eminem's lightning bird ball that was not discovered at all, there was another passenger behind him. He directly showed his ID, and then the security personnel directly let him go. He just registered it and did not lock the ball. Dang. Please give me monthly tickets. Please give me monthly tickets. Double monthly tickets are starting. Chapter 557 Escort. Miwako? When Eminem was sitting in his seat, he suddenly recognized Miwako, who was walking by. Eminem. Such a coincidence. Sorry, now is not the time to reminisce about old times. I saw Miwako and another younger female Junsha surrounding a silent middle-aged man on the left and right. If you look closely, you can see that his wrists are covered at this time, and sure enough, are you escorting prisoners? Upon seeing this, Amu immediately understood. Miwako quickly made a silencing gesture. Fortunately, there were not many people on this flight, and by coincidence, Miwako, another female Junsha, and the prisoners were located 3 seats behind Eminem. Eminem is sitting on one side of the aisle, next to Sonoko. In the innermost seat is Zio AI, by the window. In front are Sakura and Tomoyo, and across the aisle next to Himaran and Conan. There are not many people on the plane, and the seats around many are empty. Generally, Junsha does not need public transportation to escort prisoners. Even if he crosses the city, Junsha only needs to use riding Pokémon or private transportation, which is safer, but the mountains in the northeast are really inaccessible. If you want to walk out of the mountains, there may be even more variables. This is. Amu turned his head and looked at the young female Junsha with some curiosity. It can't be. Is it a sexual transformation? Compared to Miwako, she seems much more nervous. She must have just become a Junsa, but being able to join the special operations team must be a real cancer. This is a seedling, a newcomer. Don't bully others. Miwako stressed. Seedling? Eminem said he had never heard of it. No, don't make it sound like I always bully Junsha. It has nothing to do with new Junsha or old Junsha. Eminem shook his head quickly. Ahem. The one corresponding to the new Junsha is not the old Junsha, but the mature Junsha, right? Miwako emphasized. At this time, Eminem looked at Miwako and was distracted for a while. Miwako saw this and asked in confusion, "What's wrong?" "Nothing." Amu shook his head. Eminem remembered that not long ago, to be precise, not long ago, or 2 years ago, he met the Jinpei Junsha of the Special Operations Team. But thinking of the things involved in the previous court bombing case, Miwako once had a partner in explosion disposal who died, which left a big shadow on her. Now that she thinks about it, it is probably. Therefore, Amu did not ask Miwako about Jinpei Junsha. Miwako was confused and didn't know what Eminem had just thought of. This guy. I think I've seen him somewhere before. Amu looked at the prisoner between the two with a thoughtful expression. However, given Eminem's facial blindness, he naturally couldn't remember where he had seen him. Haha, a young and successful pharmacist, like you won't have the same troubles as me, right? The middle-aged man, who was the prisoner, said gloomily at this time. Huh. Pharmacist. By the way, did you meet him before during the expert level assessment? Eminem remembered after being reminded. Kyanzeo, the middle-aged man said gloomily. During the previous assessment in Rainbow City, Eminem tried every room in order to find the bomber. There were several pharmacists who were close to success at that time, and among them was the guy in front of him. And after Eminem succeeded in the assessment, he, like other pharmacists, he came to congratulate Eminem at the reception. Therefore, Eminem has a general impression, but it is impossible to expect Eminem to remember this kind of passerby. Yes, this guy is also a pharmacist, but he used pharmacy in illegal ways and was arrested for refining banned drugs. Miwako revealed at this time. After hearing this, Eminem also said with regret and condemnation, "It's a pity that a first-class pharmacist originally had a bright future." Haha. Chizo sneered and looked at Eminem resentfully, as if to say, anyway, I will never become an expert pharmacist in my life. A first-level pharmacist is just a high-level screw, so I might as well take the risk. How can a young and handsome genius like you possibly understand? Yuanzi couldn't help but pull Amu. Why do you feel so happy about this guy? The plane took off soon, and there were not many people in the cabin. Since Eminem had booked the ticket, he only booked economy class. It's not that I'm being stingy, but it's only more than an hour anyway. If it had been longer, Eminem might have chosen the more comfortable business class or first class cabin. After a period of turbulence, the plane entered the stratosphere and began a smooth flight. Eminem also took out a pharmacy book to read. This is the book recommended by Grandma Leixi. In the words of Grandma Leixi, 90% of the contents are not interesting, but the author, a pharmacist, is good at dispensing base fluids. In terms of ratios, many of the ideas are interesting. You two are really hardworking. Yuanzi looked at Amu and Xiaoi helplessly. At this time, they both took out a book to read, and they were all books that they couldn't understand just by looking at the titles. Before getting on the plane, Eminem also taught Xiaoi to protect her eyes, but after getting on the plane, he didn't see him protecting his eyes. Haha, you are indeed an expert pharmacist, and you are really eager to learn. Kyanzo was afraid that others would not know his eccentric appearance. Shut up. If you want to speak, then just explain who your family is and who your family is, so your sentence may be shorter. Miwako scolded in a cold voice. Huh. Is this really an attitude of asking for help? I want to drink coffee. Chizo looked like a dead pig who is not afraid of boiling water. You look like coffee to me. Miwako scolded her directly. Miwako senpai. That, the commander said to let him speak as much as possible. Myozi said cautiously, hey, then you watch him here, and I'll buy him canned coffee. Huh. You don't think I'll give you a chance to attack us with hot coffee and create chaos, do you? Miwako sneered. Look at Chizo. When Miwako passed by Eminem, she whispered, by the way, help me keep an eye on him. At this moment, a flight attendant suddenly came over to Miwako in a hurry and whispered, are you Junsha? We just found a bag in the business class bathroom with the words, this is a bomb, on it. Although the voice was low enough, Eminem, who was nearby, still heard it. What? I'll be there right away. Miwako couldn't help but shrink her pupils when she heard bomb and immediately rushed to the business class in front. You need me to go? After hearing this, Eminem also stood up. However, Miwako pushed her back and said sternly, you are not allowed to go. This is not your business. Seeing that she was so serious, Eminem couldn't help but follow her, but he still said while rummaging through his backpack, then wait a minute, I brought this. Eminem took out a bottle of spray medicine without a label, and he leaned into Miwako's ear and said, this is the explosion suppression potion I prepared before. When sprayed into the environment, it is roughly equivalent to the moisture characteristic of a level 60 Pokémon. Course, Miwako would not be polite this time. She took it and said, "Thank you, you are really prepared." When Eminem heard this, he spread his hands. After all, he had encountered so many. Tomoyo asked curiously, "What's wrong?" "It doesn't matter, it's probably just a prank. Even if something happens, there will still be Sakura and this," Eminem said, patting the place where he hung the lightning bird ball. Chapter 558 Seedlings. Don't cause trouble. Eminem grabbed Conan. Seeing this, Conan whispered to Eminem, "I learned how to defuse bombs in a Lala, Slim Shady." However, Xiaolan had already taken over at this time and locked Conan directly. At this moment, Kyanzo suddenly said, "I need to go to the toilet." At this time. "No, we have to wait for Miwako senpai to come back." Miyoshi said immediately, "Miss Junsha, I injured it for a long time before I said it. If it doesn't work, I can only solve it here. I hope you have a change of clothes." Kyanzo said in self-defeat, Here, wait." Miyoshi suddenly panicked. Upon seeing this, Eminem rummaged in the bag again, then took out a bottle of potion and said, "Don't worry, if this bottle of potion goes down, I guarantee that he won't be able to pull it out for 3 days, and even a bottle of Queselu will be useless." He said that he was going to pinch Kyanzo's chin. "This guy keeps embarrassing the pharmacist, and Eminem has had enough." No, bastard. Is this a petrifying agent for external application? Do you want to kill me? You are abusing the agent and poisoning on purpose. I want to file a complaint against you. Kyanzo struggled immediately. Where should I complain? It can't be to the Pharmacists Association, right? No one would think that a rubbish pharmacist who refines banned drugs and sells them would complain against a young handsome man with master level potential. Pharmacist, will it be successful? Eminem said angrily. He said that he would continue to pour medicine. Wait a minute. Miyoshi quickly stopped him. Seeing Amu looking over, the introverted Miyoshi mustered up the courage to say, "Well, this is not good. Even if we are prisoners, we can't." "Oh, I understand," Eminem said, finding another pack of instant coffee and pouring it in. "You just said you wanted to drink coffee, right?" Everyone heard it. I didn't drink anything." Kyanzo's face turned purple with fright. Miyoshi obviously didn't mean to ignore the mistake, but continued to stop him. "Well, it's better not to do this. I'll take him to the bathroom." Only then did Eminem take a closer look at Miyoshi. In addition to his obvious Junsha appearance, unlike Miwako who was 3/4 serious, 6% heroic, and slightly charming, Miyoshi had a pair of hanging eyes and straight black hair. Her hair was tied into twin ponytails, making her look smaller than she actually was. However, there was stubbornness in his eyes at this time, and he did not mean to complicit with someone. "Okay, I'll go with you." Eminem still remembered what Miwako had asked him to do. Well, that's not necessary. Miyoshi was still a little embarrassed. "No, this guy is a man. You can't keep staring at him, right?" Amu said, having already taken off his pendant and handed it to Zio beside him. Yuanzi also wondered why he still had to take off the necklace. However, Zio knows that this seems to be just a decorative elf ball pendant, but it is actually a special elf ball blessed by the lightning bird among the 3 holy birds, and it still installs the little lightning bird inside. When it reached Zio's hand, the lightning bird ball shook. Obviously not everyone could hold it. But after sensing that it was Zio, the little lightning bat didn't specifically break free. If something happens to the bomb in front, the little lightning bird can come out immediately to protect everyone. Then Amu and Nico took Chizo to the economy class bathroom. The bathroom stall on the plane was very small and couldn't fit 2 people in. After Kyanzo entered, he said, "Master Junsha, there's nothing I can do about it, right?" He raised the handcuffs on his hands. "It's true that if you put your hands together, you can't do anything." After hesitating for a moment, Miyoshi untied one for him, then immediately cuffed it to his wrist and emphasized, "Be more honest, Miyo." Z said that she was going to put the handcuffs around the door of the cubicle. The door of the cubicle was connected to the outside, and the cubicle was so cramped that you could reach the toilet with just one hand. But Myozi suddenly realized that she couldn't reach the top due to her short stature. There was a high cushion inside the cubicle, so even after sitting down, he could raise his hand to the door. However, Myozi standing outside could not. "Hey, Miss Junsha." Chizoy looked at Myozi speechlessly, who admired his height. "Why don't you put it in my hand?" Eminem said from the side. "No, you can't." Myozi didn't want to involve her mother, who was not Junsha, especially when she had to be handcuffed, so she secretly encouraged herself. "Hey, Myozi." Stepped on her feet desperately, hung the handcuffs on the door, and then immediately closed the door. But Eminem could already see that the handcuffs were embedded in the flesh of her wrists, and they were obviously painful. Seeing this, Eminem stretched out his feet to help her rise a little higher. No need. Myozi felt a little embarrassed when she saw that she was stepping on Amu's instep. How about I hold you?" Amu deliberately suggested. "No." Myozi refused immediately. Kanzeo inside could not help but say, "Hey, great pharmacist, don't do bad things outside, otherwise I will retaliate against Junsha. It's your turn to speak." Eminem said disdainfully, "Hey, Miss Junsha, thank you very much for taking such good care of me. I was really touched and even wanted to tell you the list, but unfortunately, it still doesn't work." Kyanzo said with a cry of pain. What's wrong with you?" Upon hearing this, Myozi immediately swung her wrist and tried to get it off, but the result was that it got stuck tighter and tighter. Eminem also saw that something was wrong, so he acted quickly and lifted her up, giving her room to act. Myozi immediately opened the door without caring about Eminem's rudeness. I saw in the cubicle, Chizo's abdomen was bleeding all over the floor. He held a cold dagger and inserted it into it. How could it be possible? Myozi couldn't help but feel confused. In front of Miwako, Myozi was about to call Miwako, but her hands were stretched by handcuffs, and then she remembered that she was still handcuffed with the suspect. So Myozi immediately unlocked the handcuffs, but at this moment, I saw that Eminem had already taken a step forward and sprinkled the coffee-scented medicine directly on Chizo's wound. What are you? The skin tightening caused by the petrochemical agent can stop bleeding in an emergency. Wait. Your blood doesn't seem to be big, right, Mr. Kyanzo? Amu sprinkled the agent and found that the blood did not coagulate at all. More importantly, yes, after the blood on the surface is washed away, the bleeding pattern behind it is also very strange. Eminem realized the problem. Kyanzo also knew that he had been discovered, so he didn't bother to pretend to be dead and immediately wanted to push Amu away, but he was punched directly in the face by Amu, who was already prepared, and his ice dagger also fell aside. It can be seen that it was just a broken dagger, and it was not inserted into the wound at all. What was bleeding was the blood bag he put in his clothes. Chapter 559. Choose one of three. What's going on? What happened? Miwako rushed over immediately after discovering the commotion here. This guy wants to pretend to be dead. After Myozi finds out, he wants to jump over the wall. Amu said while scissoring Kyanzo's arm from behind. Hearing this, Myozi immediately turned red and said, "No, I was almost deceived. Fortunately, Mr. Eminem, it's the bomb fake." Eminem interrupted at this time. Seeing Miwako coming here like this and seeing what happened with Chizo, Amu already had some guesses. "Well, it's just an alarm clock. I thought it was a prank at first, but now it seems." Miwako also realized at this time that the prisoner should have created a fake bomb to create an opportunity to rescue Kyanzo. "Hey." Kyanzo turned his head and said nothing. Miwako first took over Chizo from Eminem and cuffed him again. This time his hands were handcuffed directly behind his back. Then Miwako returned the explosion suppressing agent to Eminem and said, "But I still used some, just in case, so I sprayed it from the beginning." Seeing that there were still 3/4 left, Eminem waved his hand and said, "I still have some left, and I'll give them to you." Then, thanks, I'll remember this favor." Miwako was stunned for a moment, but then she didn't refuse. Obviously she also knows that the bombing case is of great significance to her, and she will lose her mind after encountering it, or she wants to solve the case no matter what, but she is not very professional. But, in Other words, this guy's accomplice is on the plane, right? Eminem said at this time. Yes, someone must have put the skates and blood bag in the bathroom just now. Tell me, who is your accomplice? Miwako asked Kyanzo. Haha. Kyanzo just sneered. Ice Blade. It must be an ice Pokémon that escaped the security check, right? Should we search everyone? Myozi was interrupted by Miwako, just as she was mid-sentence. No, if you know that the other party has Pokémon, this is on a plane, you can't alert the enemy. Miwako said. Then, we'll investigate after landing? Myozi asked. That's the only way it can be. Miwako sighed. Apparently she also understood that there would be too many variables when the plane landed. Point on Lie Alpha, this anti-drug case is very important. We cannot risk the passengers on the plane unless we can lock one or a few targets and quickly control them. I still remember who was passing by this uncle just before he was about to go to the toilet. Conan came over at some unknown time and said in the tone of a primary school student, "What? Conan, do you remember those?" Miwako also had a deep impression of Conan. She had seen Conan more times than she had seen Eminem. Well, there were 3 people passing by at that time, and within 15 minutes, they were the only ones who went to the bathroom. Conan nodded sharply. The accomplice left the knife and blood bag in the bathroom, so it would be impossible to notify Kyanzo after too long. Otherwise it would be terrible if someone discovered it, not to mention the ice knife, which would melt if it took too long. Eminem also understood at this time that it was probably one of the 3 people who hid the tools in the bathroom, and then hinted that Chizo came to the bathroom to act out this fake death scene. Then Eminem naturally realized that he should have slowed down just now. The other party's plan was certainly not just that. It was impossible for Junsha to see the prisoner he was escorting commit suicide and then think, it's useless anyway, or just throw it away. Instead, he knew how to rescue and investigate. You can't hide your death for long. So, as long as Myozi leaves to ask for help, Kyanzo's accomplices will definitely take the opportunity to rescue him. There seems to be no place to hide on the plane, but since you can get an ice type Pokémon in, there's a good chance that a flying type Pokémon can get in too. With Pokémon, high altitude is no longer an absolutely confined space that cannot be left. If Eminem had thought of this, he shouldn't have exposed Kyanzo immediately, but would have waited for an opportunity to fish. But now that there is such a big commotion, many passengers have discovered something, and it is obvious that they can no longer expect the other party to fall into the trap. The good news is that Conan's observation ability and memory are indeed not limited. It was completely humanoid surveillance playback that accurately narrowed down the suspects to 3. If there are 3 people. Miwako heard this and had already made up her mind. After that, Chizo didn't find any other opportunities. Miwako and Nico took him directly to the luggage compartment and released the wind speed dog to keep him alone. An hour later, the plane just landed. Sir, please wait a moment. Junsha, please cooperate. You're just you, right? There's no point in pretending. Miwako, Nico, and the helping Amu took control of the 3 passengers Conan had described before, just before picking up their luggage. At the same time, Junsha, who was receiving support on the ground, had also taken over Kyanzo at this time. Amu happened to know the leaders of these Junshas. It was Gaoming whom he had met in Yanmo City. The 3 people controlled by Miwako, Myozi and Amu also acted innocently at this time. Drug ban? This has nothing to do with me. I just took the plane honestly. Why am I being questioned? What? A lousy airline. It makes a lot of noise when flying, and when you get off, you get arrested for no reason. The 3 of them are all men. 2 of them are middle-aged. One looks fierce. The other looks like he is trying to hold on, like an office worker. The 3rd one is a young man wearing a woolen hat. The 3 people immediately complained again and again. Sorry, we just need to double check that the Pokémon you bring is fine. Miwako seemed polite, but in fact she didn't give in. The 3 of them knew they couldn't avoid it, so they still handed over all the elf balls. Moreover, the inspection at this time was much more thorough than the security inspection when boarding the plane. It was specifically confirmed that the three of them only had these Pokémon, unless they also had something like Lightning Bird Ball, otherwise they must be. Can't escape point, but unfortunately, each of the three of them has an ice Pokémon. In fact, it can't be said to be a coincidence. After all, this is a plane from Hubi Town to Kaji City. Both places are always places with more ice type Pokémon. People who often move here have ice type Pokémon. Cheming is normal, but now, it is necessary to further confirm who the accomplices are. Lie. When we were on the plane just now, the two uncles and this elder brother were holding newspapers, right? This brother was also holding coffee. Conan used the lie method at this time to provide key clues. So Miwako went to read the newspapers they brought to see if there were any clues at this time. Eminem looked at the case records, confirmed their Pokémon, hammered his palm, as if thinking of something, and then approached Chizo with a smile. Dang, there are only the last 2 days. Please give me a monthly pass. Please give me a monthly pass. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 560. He didn't expect it anyway. Seeing that the three suspects had appeared, Conan's lips curled up slightly. It was time for him to do his best. Suddenly Conan shuddered, thinking that every time he and Eminem solved a case together, this guy would make trouble. Looking around, Conan found that Amu was going over to talk to Kaienzo. Because he knew Gaoming and had assisted Junsha of the special operations team on the plane, the local Junsa did not stop him from doing this. I saw Eminem holding Chizo's neck, smiling and talking about something. Conan saw that Eminem didn't seem to want to be reckless, so he immediately began to analyze and reason and compare evidence before he caused trouble. 20 minutes later, the three suspects had gone through basic interrogation. And when they all said they wanted to leave due to something else, Conan had basically locked in on the real prisoner, but the evidence was still lacking. Just when Conan was thinking about whether to use words to trick him into exposing himself, Eminem walked over with a smile. Seeing Eminem's smile, Conan felt bad. Zhang, right? Haha, Kaienzo has already been recruited. You are the one sent by the family to rescue. No, you are the one who silenced him, right? Eminem said directly to the young man wearing the hat. What? Are you Junsha? Don't talk nonsense. I will file a complaint against you. Zhang looked a little flustered, but it is not surprising that this kind of panic was caused by anger after being wronged. Haha, feel free to quibble, but Kaienzo has already identified him. Now that you are going to be taken back to cooperate with the investigation, you can try to see if you can confront him. Eminem said nonchalantly. Zhang instinctively looked at Kaienzo at this time, only to find that the other party was glaring at him angrily, and he immediately understood that Amu was not testing him. You guy. Zhang said, about to take out the elf ball, and finally resisted, but Myozi immediately released his wind speed dog and misskirt and captured it directly. Myozi is still very decisive when it comes to taking action. Conan watched dumbly as the prisoner was taken away. Well, the selection was based on my own reasoning. But, how? Do you know? No, how did you ask from Chizo? Conan asked in confusion. Before, Conan was reasoning so hard here, just because he believed that Chizo would not tell the truth. The three of them don't have flying Pokémon with them. Even if they lure Junsha away and temporarily rescue Kaienzo, they will definitely not be able to escape. And if they don't want to escape, then they must be trying to silence them. This is how Mew persuaded Kaienzo. There are no flying Pokémon. Maybe there is someone outside to help. Conan said speechlessly. Eminem was stunned when he heard this, and then said, anyway, not only I didn't expect it, but Chizo didn't expect it either. Isn't everyone happy with this? Regardless of whether this was the case or not, Kaienzo believed it anyway and naturally confessed his accomplice is Conan. Conan was obviously not very happy. Xiaolan also came over at this time and said, Eminem is still smart. He knows how to start with the suspect to formulate a story. Otherwise we don't know how long it will be delayed. Okay, stop playing detective games. Let's go to the Pokémon Center as soon as possible. With that said, Conan was led away by Island Point thanks to Eminem's smartness. Everyone didn't stay at the airport for too long and soon got out and headed to the Pokémon Center otherwise. According to Conan's temper, he would have to solve the case before leaving. Actually, from the newspapers I read at the time, we can already deduce. Forget it. Conan muttered in disinterest. The criminals have been arrested, and the mystery show is no longer interesting. On the other hand, after arriving at the Pokémon Center and opening a room, Eminem first called King Mui to report that he was safe, and then from Mr. Jumu, he managed to get the little bad bear back, preparing to train it in the next few days. In addition, Eminem went to the Kaji gym to book a challenge for the 4th badge. What surprised Eminem was, I originally thought that Kaji gym, as a 12-star gym in the Johto area, would have to wait in line for a long time, and even be prepared to wait until tomorrow and the day after the 4th badge. However, in fact, while Eminem was waiting to see his number, a gym staff came directly to him and wanted to take Eminem to challenge. This was obviously not a normal arrangement, but after Eminem registered his identity, it alarmed the Kaji gym. After all, Eminem is one of the top 4 in the Kanto region's rookie competition, so it's normal for him to receive attention. However, in the previous gyms, Eminem wasn't given any preferential treatment, and of course he didn't make things difficult for him. The reason why Kaji Gym will open the door to Eminem's convenience is mainly because of Team Rocket, although Eminem, as Miyoshi's trainer, has always drawn a clear line between him and Team Rocket. After coming to Johto, apart from meeting Kajiro by chance before, Eminem has never dealt with Team Rocket, but Sakaki. Some people are trying to be courteous for nothing. Eminem suspected that he might have saved him from trouble during the Santanu incident and the Muto incident, so he felt guilty about changing the draw of his game. However, even so, Eminem just thought that this gym, which was closely related to the Rockets, would just help him join the team. It wasn't until the gym trainer took him very deep that Eminem realized something was wrong. We going to the gym to challenge? Amu asked in confusion. Yes, the gym owner has arranged a special challenge for you, said the gym trainer who led the waypoint. Although Eminem is still confused, he is not worried about anything, not to mention Team Rocket or Kaji Gym. There should be no reason against him, and, even if there is, Eminem is confident that he can escape unscathed. Soon Eminem was led to the depths of the gym, in front of a small wooden house. This was no longer an area that outsiders could enter, and the surrounding area was very secluded. This cabin is also different from other venues in the gym, because it is an ice gym. Most of the stadium buildings are very warm. It is okay now in winter, but in summer, an artificial freezing environment is required. The gym leader is waiting for you. The gym trainer raised his hand and showed no intention of following. In fact, Eminem also guessed who might want to see him. However, after pushing the door and walking in, Eminem was still a little surprised to see the owner waiting for him, an old man who looked very old, with a very thin figure, but he still looked tall and tall. He should not have been short when he was young. He had grey hair on his head and a somewhat untidy hairline, which makes one imagine Sakaki's future. Obviously, this is not the current gym owner in name, but the real master of the gym, Uncle Liu. Chapter 561. I seem to have forgotten something. In the official ice system gym in Kaji City, Liubo, one of the few ice system masters in the world, was sitting on a wooden chair, covered with a small blanket, warming his knees by the fire. There is a little mountain pig lying on it, which looks very comfortable. When Eminem came in, he seemed to have just woken up from a nap. Before Eminem could speak, Liubo sighed. Is it Eminem? She is indeed very young. Hello, are you the master Liu? Right? Amu confirmed. You can just call me Uncle Liu. I'm no longer the owner of the hall. Uncle Liu said with a very kind look. Uncle Liu invited me here, isn't it just for the challenge of the 4th badge? Eminem asked directly. Hahaha, for you, the 4th badge is not a challenge, right? Don't be nervous, I'm here to see you. I just want to have a chat. Seeing young people like you, I feel young too. It's a lot. Just take it as a challenge. Come on, sit down first. Uncle Liu looked like he just wanted to chat with the young man. When Eminem heard that Uncle Liu just wanted to have a chat, he immediately became interested. First, he told him about his exquisite tactics in the rookie competition, which made Uncle Liu look embarrassed. These tactics seemed to Uncle Liu, which is only useful for newcomers. Ahem, Eminem, I've participated in too many competitions. Tell me more about travel. Liu interrupted awkwardly. Travel? Yes, my trip was quite exciting when I was in Kanto before, so. Eminem talked about the death coffin attempt murder incident, Uchiha treasure serial murder incident, Six Guards serial murder incident. For a moment, Uncle Liu was filled with emotion. He didn't expect that the world today is even more chaotic than when he was young. Even Liu, a big boss who had been involved in violent organizations when he was young, now sounds a little like a world away, but that's not what Liu actually wanted to hear. When he was about to interrupt Eminem talked about the murder-suicide incident at the Celebi statue. Upon hearing this, Uncle Liu immediately shut up and listened carefully. I see. I also read about the motto sightseeing in the Danhei Daily. I didn't expect that it really has something to do with Celebi. Liu's eyes flashed at this moment, and then he asked, speaking of Celebi, speaking of which, it seems that you also came into contact with Celebi in Xiaozhou Gap in the Kanto region, right? Eminem didn't think there was anything that couldn't be said, so he started telling Uncle Liu about the legend of Maiden's Gorge and catching ghosts at night there. Kato clan. I didn't expect that it started to decline from hunting Celebi. Liu said, and shook his head. That's right. People who want to use Celebi's power to full time for their own selfish ends often end up becoming the slaves and laughing stock of time. Eminem also said with emotion. I don't know why, but Eminem suddenly felt a chill and couldn't help but shiver. Maybe it was an illusion. Okay, I'm tired. Go get your badge. Uncle Liu suddenly had a stiff attitude. Seeing his sudden change of attitude, Eminem couldn't help being stunned, but he still stood up and said, then I'll take my leave. When I came out, the gym trainer who led the way was still there, and he took Eminem directly to receive the fourth badge. Seeing that Kaji Jim had no intention of giving away a special badge box, Eminem left directly. After leaving the gym, Eminem sent a special message to Kajiro, mainly to remind him that the old man's temper was unstable and often changed suddenly, which might be a precursor to Alzheimer's disease. When we came out of Kaji Gym, it was getting late. Although it was Eminem's turn to challenge quickly, telling Liu a story was more time consuming than a normal gym challenge. The whole afternoon flew by in a blink of an eye. Eminem, who already had the certificate, rode directly on a horse and returned to the Pokémon Center. It happened to be dinner time, and I heard from Tomoyo and Sakura that Sonoko and Zyalin hadn't come back yet. It seemed like something had happened. Eminem is not surprised by this. It seems that the probability of them encountering some special things is very high, even though they didn't bring any special Pokémon. Tomoyo couldn't help but say, huh, did you notice it too? Amu said in surprise. After all, they went to Daidaiji shopping mall. Tomoyo said, showing a bright smile, this is the countless times this year that Daidaiji shopping malls and various places have closed due to accidents. To say that it is all related to Yuanzi, that must be an injustice. But I don't know why she is always at the scene accurately. If it weren't for the fact that the Suzuki group had no retail or shopping mall business, Tomoyo would have suspected that this was some kind of special business strategy. Huh? Sakura, what's wrong? Are you worried? Amu asked curiously. I always feel like we have forgotten something, Sakura said with some distress. Are there any clo cards that can cause amnesia? Eminem became wary. No, it's not that kind of supernatural forgetfulness. Forget it. It shouldn't be anything important. At the same time, in Hubi Town, Xiana Lang, who has lost the whereabouts of Amu and others, is searching across the mountains and ridges. At night, Eminem watched Zhao finish the experiment and let her go to bed at the time when children should go to bed, while he wrote in his diary in the outer room. At this moment, there was a sudden knock on the door. Huh? Amu was a little puzzled. The knock on the door was a bit unfamiliar, and looking at the time, I knew it wasn't Tomoyo. Tomoyo was usually in the early morning. When he opened the door, Eminem found that no one was there. He stuck his head out and looked around, but still found nothing. But just after Eminem turned around, he saw a woman with long hair and red clothes sitting in front of his desk. Because ZioAI had already fallen asleep, Eminem only turned on a dim desk lamp. He had some night vision anyway. At this time, under the dim light, the other party's red dress also looked a little black, although the scene looks very supernatural. But, are you okay? Eminem asked with some greetings and surprise. Well, even though it was from the back, Eminem recognized it at a glance. It was Nazi. Face blindness makes Eminem remember many features other than his face. Did you find the sealed book? It's a pirated copy, right? Nazi commented unceremoniously on Eminem's diary, the training diary. Hey, don't just read my diary without saying hello. What if it's a private matter? Eminem rolled his eyes. Have you met Uncle Liu? Nazi turned the swivel chair and turned around. At the same time, her right leg in black stockings was stacked on her left leg. She put one hand on the armrest and supported her face slightly. At this time, a pair of red looked at Eminem with his eyes. Chapter 562 Night Talk. Did you listen to what Kajiro said? Amu suddenly understood. Nazi must have heard about what she reminded Kajiro, so she knew that she was in Kaji City, right? But do the Rockets care so much about the health of their veteran cadres? To be able to do it so quickly, that's not right. It can't be so fast, can it? In other words, Nazi should have come to Kaji City for business, and then she happened to hear that Eminem was also in Kaji City. I'm asking you. Nazi said coldly, you dare to ask me back? Go and scan the Rockets to see if anyone dares to talk to me like that. I've seen. Why are you so serious? Are you feeling better? Will you get smaller? Eminem said and came closer to take a look. Nazi, did Uncle Liu say anything to you or ask about anything? Nazi asked next. What are you talking about? It's nothing special. I just asked about some things about my trip. By the way, I specifically asked about Maiden Canyon. Eminem answered honestly, while sitting on the bed next to the swivel chair. Girls, gorge. Sure enough, if Uncle Liu comes to see you again, remember to contact me first. Nazi said in an arrogant tone. Okay, I told you to add your contact information before. Eminem said, taking out the illustrated book. Nazi, although Nazi felt awkward, she still took out the illustrated book and added her contact information with Amu. By the way, is there something wrong with Uncle Liu? Could it be that it has something to do with Team Flare? Amu had some associations because he heard from ZioAI that the Dark Organization had a secret research institute in the Lake of Anger. Team Flare. What are you talking about? Don't talk nonsense. Nazi saw that Eminem was asking, is Uncle Liu a traitor in Team Rocket? And quickly denied it. It doesn't matter. I won't tell anyone else. Eminem said, leaning closer as if he was whispering. At this moment, ZioAI opened the door and came out of the back room. He looked at the man and woman standing together in the dim light without saying anything. Then he curled his lips and said, I just went to the bathroom. You can do whatever you want. Now, Z's face darkened when she heard this. She didn't think ZioAI was an ordinary little girl. At this time, Eminem directly held the back of the chair at Naz's shoulders and leaned behind her, probably because he was too familiar with Nana in her little girl state. Eminem found it hard to be in awe of Nazi, who had regained her original figure, and for a while, Nazi couldn't get used to it. Normally even as he would not dare to get so close to him, but Eminem seemed to lack the common sense of boundaries. At this time, Eminem took his diary from the table and asked Nazi directly, did you see the training plan in my diary just now? How do you feel? Although Nazi is a master of the superpower system and does not match Eminem in terms of style, but putting the level here, there is no need to consider the style issue when giving advice to a trainer of Eminem's level. More importantly, Eminem suspects that Nazi may have obtained part of the Book of Ceilings. To be precise, many secret skills left over from the Ninja Village era and related to Konoha Ninja Village will be labeled Book of Ceilings. The Sign board is no longer a fixed book. Nazi has been entrenched in Golden City all year round and has also searched for the Nanga shrine of the Uchiha clan in Golden City. So, she must have obtained the Book of Ceilings, and there should even be more than one version. Shadow clone, 4 elephant seal, 8 door dungeon. Nazi may not have seen all 3 of these, but at least Nazi should have some understanding of the style of Konoha's secret skills during the Ninja Village era. At first, Nazi hid in disgust, but seeing Eminem being so enthusiastic, Nazi's face flushed red, and then she pretended to be cold, while sarcastically correcting him. Nazi has been alienated from the people around her since she was a child, because she could not control her superpowers. Nazi often unintentionally hurt the people around her when she was a child. Even her parents lacked communication with her. Now these experiences have become part of Nazi's character. After becoming the super queen, there is no longer alienation around her, only awe, but there is still a strong sense of separation from other people around her. Just like after being attacked before, she would rather temporarily believe in Amu who rescued her than in the large number of trainers in the gym who admired her, or even in Azzy who she had saved. When she has superpowers, Nazi overlooks everything like a cruel queen, and doesn't care about the people around her. When she loses her superpowers, she becomes like a little girl who suddenly took off her heavy armor, and no one believes it. Now, someone suddenly got closer to her, which made Nazi feel something unprecedented. Of course, if it hadn't happened before, the person who did this must have been sanctioned by the Super Queen. Returning to Eminem's training diary, Eminem is going to focus on training, shadow clone, and stand-in for Zyology, rock blockade for Leoban, and abdominal drum for Little Bad Bear. That is, the skills corresponding to multiple shadow clone for image seal and 8 gate dungeon. Of course, it would be impossible to train to the point of awakening within a few months. Even if it really awakens, it will only be an awakening at most, and it is impossible to awaken flowers like what is recorded in the Book of Ceilings. As for the other Pokémon, they are still following the same steps. Bio is trained as an auxiliary. Dali continues to focus on the fitness on the strength card and works hard towards the direction of Majestic Fang. As for Kiu, that is, the little Zuandla focuses on training its claw skills in order to evolve as soon as possible. Not to mention these, Nazi criticized Eminem's training plan for Togekiss, Bankulus, and Uiu Bear without any hesitation. Your Uiu Bear has a perseverance trait? Nazi confirmed to Eminem at this time point, even when she saw Moon Bear, a Pokémon that shouldn't exist in the first place. Nazi couldn't hold back her curiosity, and didn't ask once, as if it's no big deal or it's just Moon Bear, isn't it? That's right, I was about to awaken the Scud trait, but unfortunately it happened to evolve at that time. It's still very difficult for Uiu Bear to evolve, so I didn't specifically suppress it. Eminem said honestly. The Little Bad Bear was not far away from the dual characteristics of perseverance plus Scud, but after evolution, Moon Bear cannot have the Scud characteristic without awakening. The Loop Bear that originally had the Scud characteristic will transform into the Bulletproof characteristic after evolution. Of course, this change in characteristics after evolution is the same as the change in characteristics after Mega Evolution. If trained properly, it is easier to awaken dual characteristics, which means that the characteristics before evolution will continue to take effect. On Limber for the Little Bad Bear evolved, he was unable to awaken his dual characteristics. Now it is more difficult to have a Scud or Bulletproof characteristics. However, Nazi has proposed another training method, which can more efficiently help the Little Bad Bear awaken dual characteristics or even 3 characteristics. The two of them had been studying for a long time, and they didn't even notice when Zhao went back to the house after going to the bathroom. And even until a few hours later, when it was already early morning. Dong dong dong. There was a knock on the door. Nazi, who was interrupted, looked at the door with her red eyes, and then at Eminem. Dong dong. In the last month of this year, due to the epidemic, there were relatively few updates. But looking at the combat power list, Bendong found that the update ranking did not seem to decrease, and even increased steadily. But that's it for today, and it's also the last chapter of the year. Old readers may have guessed that Bendong is going out to celebrate his birthday the last time this year. Please give me a monthly pass Please give me a monthly pass. Chapter 563 Sakura, I know everything. Darn. Huh. It's already this time. It must be Tomoyo. After hearing the knock on the door, Amu looked at the time and said point Nazi. Nazi also wants to ask, why do you have such a tone of chais? Should come to me at this time. It's true. It's like this every time. Why don't you just bring Sakura over here? You still need me to go over? Eminem said and stepped forward to open the door. Nazi always feels that Eminem's companionship on this trip sounds weird. When Eminem opened the door, it turned out to be Tomoyo, who was still wearing pajamas and a coat because of the weather. Sakura, wake up. Come to our room later, eh? How about, let's talk during the day? Tomoyo just said when he suddenly noticed that a dim desk lamp was dimly lit behind Eminem, and in the dim light, a man in black, a woman in a red and white long skirt with crossed legs and black stockings is sitting next to Eminem's bed. Did I come at the wrong time? Tomoyo asked, feeling somewhat guilty for no reason. No, you came at just the right time, and I'm not sleeping either. Nazi, let me introduce you. Eminem said, about to introduce the two of them but at this time, Nazi had already stood up, and while releasing hoodie, she said, no, not interested, remember what I told you. After saying this, Nazi snapped her fingers, and then the surrounding space was distorted, and she disappeared together with hoodie. Tomoyo was stunned when he saw this. Nazi is more introverted. Don't worry about it. You go back first. I will just clean up and go over. Eminem said to Tomoyo. Nazi? Chais finally reacted. Originally, Tomoyo only felt slightly familiar. After all, Nazi was still very famous. It's just the woman in red who appeared in Eminem's room in the middle of the night. Normally I would never expect it to be Nazi, even if it wasn't the way Nazi left in the end. Even if Tomoyo thought about why he looked familiar, he would only wonder. Eminem asked someone to come to the room in the middle of the night, and even cosplayed like Nazi. TSK. But I didn't expect it to be the real Nazi. After Chais took a deep look at Eminem, he said, well, come back in 10 minutes. When Eminem came to Tomoyo and Sakura's room, it turned out that Sakura was already eager to share her dream. What did you dream about? Eminem looked at Sakura and then at Tomoyo, who had the same puzzled look on his face. Tomoyo said helplessly, I don't know. She insisted on waiting for you to come, and she didn't even tell me. As she said this, Tomoyo looked at Amu with some suspicion and caution. She really didn't know. Sakura and Amu, when did it become mature to this extent? We both have secrets, but we want to share them with Eminem. Do you want me to avoid it? Tomoyo asked deliberately. Sakura said with a serious face at this time. No, I have something to ask you too. So serious? What are you talking about? Eminem looked confused. At this moment, Sakura had an adult expression on her face, and she pretended to be mature inside. You don't have to hide it from me. Actually, you two are in love behind my back, right? Huh? Amu and Chais made confused sounds at the same time. Well, even Tomoyo made a sound that he wouldn't normally make, obviously breaking his defense. Little Sakura, what are you talking about? Tomoyo said hurriedly. You're in a hurry. Sakura looked more like she had solved the case. No. She's not anxious about being told that something is important, but she feels inexplicably anxious. Eminem rolled his eyes at the side. Sakura didn't know why, but she was convinced. At this moment, she shook her head and said, it doesn't matter. You don't have to carry me behind my back. Although it is true that the three of us are traveling together, I will be more embarrassed if you two fall in love. But in fact I don't really care about it either. You better take it to heart. Where did you hear all this nonsense? Eminem reminded him quickly. At this time, Sakura's face turned red, and she continued, I saw it. I just saw you kissing in my dream. And it's not the kind of kissing on the cheek. Shame. Sakura said, even reprimanded, and then turned away with a blush. Eminem, Tomoyo? Eminem and Tomoyo looked confused. They instinctively looked at each other to see how the other would react. However, when they saw each other's faces, they couldn't help but think of Sakura's words. Although it didn't happen at all, they couldn't help but feel guilty and hurriedly avoided it. The other person's gaze look Sakura seemed to have obtained some key evidence. No, 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 Sakura, we have to be reasonable. Look, you and Tomoyo are usually together, right? Tomoyo and I are rarely alone, right? Eminem reviewed the logic for Sakura. Hearing this, Sakura said a little lowly, I know, I will try my best to give you some time alone in the future. How about I go by myself, huh? Can you please pay attention to the important point? This doesn't mean that you are a light bulb, but we are not alone at all. How can we have time to fall in love? Eminem corrected, covering his face. Zioing also showed some doubts after hearing this, and then said speculatively, could it be every time Tomoyo goes to your room to call you, that's not enough time to cultivate feelings, right? Amu rolled his eyes. Yeah, that's right. But Sakura was also shaken at this time. What on earth did you dream about? Tomoyo asked quickly. That's it, you guys kiss. Sakura said with her face getting hot. But Eminem and Tomoyo finally asked. Sakura didn't dream about the cause and effect. In short, she just saw the two of them kissing together. Zio. Are there any cards in the Clo cards that can cause hormonal abnormalities? Eminem asked. Zio tactfully point. Eminem's impression is that it doesn't exist, but maybe there are some hidden effects that weren't included. Of course not. Zio affirmed with a tone of you can't blame it on Clo card and Crowrido is not so wretched, and you're not doing rescue work. Amu looked at Sakura again. Sakura shook her head repeatedly, indicating that they were two sober people. What kind of scene would this be? As expected, Eminem still didn't understand. As he spoke, he glanced at Tomoyo and imagined the circumstances under which he would kiss her, and then turned away embarrassedly. There is no such scene. Sakura's precognitive dream was supposed to happen within a few days, but Eminem obviously couldn't think of any reason why he would suddenly do such a thing in such a short period of time. In short, since I had a precognitive dream, it must be related to the Clo card, right? The abnormality should also be caused by the Clo card. Eminem guessed at this time. Chapter 564 Guilty Conscience. Because Sakura misunderstood Tomoyo early in the morning, so in order to compensate, Sakura decided to ask Tomoyo to go out to eat Zio Long Bao, which was not available in the Pokémon Center restaurant, for breakfast. Eminem, on the other hand, took Zio AI to have breakfast with Xiaolan and Yuanzi. Eminem didn't know why, but he was also misunderstood, but he didn't make up for it. In the cafeteria, when Eminem and Conan brought the food back to the table, Xiaolan and Yuanzi were happily talking about the plot of last night's TV series. It seemed that the hero and heroine kissed. Seeing a boy coming over, the two immediately stopped talking about this topic. However, Eminem, who had heard some things, became interested and asked, by the way, speaking of kissing, do you think there is a possibility that young men and women are not in love and are just ordinary friends, but or do you know how to kiss? Huh? Yuanzi and Xiaolan looked at Amu in confusion. Hey. Conan looked over with dead eyes, as if to say, don't tease my Xiaolan. Zio AI silently swallowed the pudding in her mouth, and then defined, pervert. No, 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 I'm not a pervert. Nor, forget it, just pretend I didn't say it. After speaking, Eminem still looked like he was thinking hard. Yuanzi and Xiaolan looked at him in confusion, but they just couldn't bear to discuss such a topic with a boy. By the way, Eminem, when are you going to the Lake of Anger? Xiaolan asked, changing the subject. Don't worry about these few days. I plan to train at a fighting club in the city for a few days before going to the wild. Eminem said honestly. Originally ordinarily, if Sakura had a precognitive dream, even if she didn't know what happened, Eminem should have acted together with Sakura and Tomoyo in the past 2 days. Although not every time the Clo card appears, Sakura can dream about it, but every time she has a precognitive dream, usually within a day or two, or at the latest 3 days, a Clo card will appear. But now, Eminem is a little scared to appear on the same screen as Tomoyo. Likewise, Tomoyo also made a tacit agreement to act alone with Sakura instead of calling Amu. Although they don't know what's going on, both of them instinctively want to prevent Sakura's dream from coming true. Fortunately, Sakura's dream, judging from the current situation, is not necessarily inevitable. When she was at the Celebi Colossus, What Sakura saw was a situation before the time flow changed. While in Yanmo City at that time, Hiji was also pushed away by Conan and was not hit by the arrow. It can be seen that some special power can change Sakura's precognitive dream point. For example, the power of Celebi, such as Conan has some unknown power, at least in this world. Eminem does not think that Conan is just a matter of luck. It should be some kind of special power, since these can interfere with Sakura's precognitive dream. Eminem feels that the power of his god's path should also be able to do so. So, Eminem feels that, as long as she keeps herself clean, she can avoid that unreliable future. During breakfast, Eminem had been a little distracted. Yuanzi was also confused, but did not ask directly, while Xiaoai curled her lips. Someone met Nazi last night, and then asked about kissing the next day. TSK. Point after breakfast, Eminem went directly to the battle club in Kaji City. After opening the training room, Eminem started special Pokémon training. Nazi also made a lot of suggestions last night and pointed out some things that Eminem took for granted. The most important thing is Goru. Just listen to the little bad bear screaming while avoiding a Pyro's seed machine gun and the powerful rock crit. Little bad bear, don't run away from any bull or bullet attack. Face it with a smile. You can do it. Persistence is the key to victory. Come on. Eminem encouraged the little bad bear. Goru. The little bad bear made a very moved voice. That's right. Eminem deliberately asked Pio and Ali to attack the little bad bear with bullet type moves without letting him fight back. The main purpose was to train its defense capabilities and strive to activate its bulletproof characteristics. In addition, for Dali, the continuous attack move, Rock Crit, is not a waste in training. Heracross after Mega Evolution has the characteristic continuous attack, which is suitable for this continuous attack move. This is what Nazi reminded Eminem last night, since the Scud tray is about to be awakened before evolving, then even after evolving, it does not mean trying to clear it. In theory, the second tray, Bulletproof, can still be awakened. At this time, some stimulation is needed. You can first try to activate the Bulletproof characteristic of Moon Bear, and then reversely promote the Scud characteristic before evolution. Circle Bear, Moon Bear. Several characteristics before and after evolution are very practical and can awaken many people characteristics. You can greatly improve your actual combat capabilities. It's just that the little bad bear wasn't very cooperative and couldn't help but dodge the attack point. After training one day, Eminem left the battle club in the dark. He didn't even eat lunch, but just ate some free desserts for members in the battle club. After riding a horse and heading to the Pokémon Center, Eminem happened to meet Sakura and Tomoyo, who were also on their way back to the Pokémon Center. It is indeed a coincidence that we can come across such a large Kaji city. Huh? You guys have just finished? Eminem came closer on a horse. Yes, I have something to do, so let's go first. Tomoyo turned around and looked at Eminem, and the awkward atmosphere immediately dissipated. As a result, Eminem found an excuse and returned to the Pokémon Center first, probably until Sakura conquers the unknown cloak card that caused the precognitive dream. Eminem and Tomoyo will deliberately keep a distance point during dinner. Sonoko seemed to have noticed something and asked worriedly, Amu, did you have a fight with Tomoyo? No. Eminem immediately denied. Really? I feel that you are all acting weird today. Although Tomoyo is not as easy to get along with as this eldest lady, she is not a good person either. No, I mean, she is not a bad girl. If she is something annoying, it must be her problem. Don't take it too seriously. Sonoko didn't know if she was speaking for Tomoyo. Slim Shady. No, you are overthinking. Of course Eminem refused to admit it. Xiaolan, who was on the side, looked worried for Yuanzi. These two people, this way of not daring to see each other, couldn't be a confession, right? Xiaolan decided to remind Yuanzi well. After returning to the room at night, Eminem finished eating first, because he wanted to go back and write a training diary, so he didn't wait for Yuanzi and Xiaolan. But, when Eminem pressed the elevator button, and the elevator finally came up, when he opened the door, he saw Tomoyo alone inside. Dang, the double monthly pass is still going on. Please give me a monthly pass. Please give me a monthly pass. Chapter 565 Big Accident. Come to eat? Haha. Eminem asked awkwardly. That's right. Tomoyo smiled slightly, but if you look carefully, he was a little stiffer than usual, but he still walked out. But just after she got out of the elevator, when the service staff at the restaurant door asked her to show her room card, Tomoyo didn't bring it with her. She wasn't here to eat in the first place. Sakura and I had already eaten outside, and were about to go back to the room. Then, go back to the room to get it? Amu asked tentatively. Okay. Tomoyo had no choice but to walk back. Even Tomoyo has never been as embarrassed as he is now. To their relief, a third stranger also entered the elevator, and they finally didn't have to be alone. Oh no, this one just went up one floor and then went down. Really? If there's only one floor, just take the stairs for me. Haha. Eminem said after the other party went down. He had nothing to say. Yes. Haha. Tomoyo then took a deep breath, preparing to regain his composure and use his all-around skills to break the embarrassment point. But just then, click, bang, accompanied by two abnormal noises, the elevator shook violently, and then, the lighting was cut off after a sizzling sound. Feel sorry. Eminem instinctively wanted to help Tomoyo, who was unable to stand due to inertia, but Tomoyo instinctively took a step back. But at the next moment, Tomoyo exclaimed, feeling as if his body was not his for a moment, and he fell down unable to maintain his balance. Fortunately, Eminem held him up at this time. Eminem thought Tomoyo was exclaiming about physical contact, so he instinctively said sorry. But the next moment, both of them felt a sense of confusion. How does it feel? The one who exclaimed was Amu, and the one who said sorry was Tomoyo. Eminem. In the darkness, Amu called Amu. After 3 seconds of silence, the emergency power supply of the elevator was activated. Under the dim light, I saw Tomoyo spread out his arms and caught Amu, who was about to fall down. Slim Shady. Tomoyo. What's going on? I saw Emma suddenly bounced up. First pointed at Chai's, then looked at his own hand in surprise, and finally touched himself in panic. Face and chest. If Conan and Hiji saw this action, they would definitely complain. Why are you such a girl today? And Chai's also had a petrified expression at this time, touched his throat, and made a sound. Chai's. After feeling the strange vibration of his vocal cords, Chiyo moved the hand touching his throat down to his chest, and suddenly, his face turned red. Just when she was panicking and wanted to touch a more important place, Eminem quickly took action and grabbed her cuffs. Eminem, Tomoyo, the two of them also completely confirmed at this time that it seemed that when the elevator broke down just now, their consciousness and body were swapped. What's going on? What did you do? Don't move your hands. You are my body now, right? The two started talking at the same time, and because of their panic, they were unable to communicate normally until, click, sizzle, the elevator fault seems to have been eliminated. Normal lighting was restored, and the floors were displayed again, and a voice sounded on the radio. Are the people in the elevator okay? There seemed to be some malfunction just now. Of course, it's okay. Tomoyo was about to complain, but after being poked on the waist by Amu with his fingers, he quickly changed his words. It's okay. Come out soon. This elevator also needs to be inspected. A voice came from the radio point in the elevator. The two of them did not dare to say anything, not wanting others to notice anything strange, so they hurriedly walked out after opening the door. At this time, they were still 3 floors away from their room, and they did not take any other elevators. Instead, go directly to the emergency ladder. What's going on? What's going on? Am I dreaming? Eminem said like a woman. No, it's obviously not a dream. Stop pinching yourself. That's obviously my body. Tomoyo looked a lot more silly than usual. At this moment, there was a sound of footsteps on the stairs. Eminem and Tomoyo quickly stopped talking, but then they found that the hurried footsteps and the sound of breathing were somewhat familiar. Tomoyo, Eminem is here too? Just hope you're okay. I just saw the elevator was broken, and I was wondering if it was the one you came up from. Sakura breathed a sigh of relief after seeing Tomoyo point. Sakura and Tomoyo just returned to the Pokémon Center together. As usual, Sakura wanted to compete with Tomoyo on whether she could ride the elevator faster than her. Originally, Sakura could only play this game on the 3rd to 5th floors. After becoming a magical girl, she now has to challenge the 12th floor, and she doesn't use magic. She relies entirely on physical strength point. Usually when Eminem is around, Sakura will restrain herself from showing such a childish side point, but this time, after Sakura rushed to the 12th floor, she found that one of the elevators had a malfunction, so she quickly came down the stairs again. Trying to find Tomoyo. Yeah, I happened to meet him later. Tomoyo was about to answer, but he realized, after making a sound, that he was now Eminem point at this moment. Eminem was holding Chai's face aside. Although he knew that Chais would inevitably have some scruples. After all, it was quite embarrassing, but at this time, he immediately found Zyroke and asked how to solve the problem. So he said, quickly, let's go see Zyroke, you two. Sakura looked at the two of them in confusion, feeling something was very wrong, but she couldn't tell what was wrong for the moment. Go see Zyroke first. Tomoyo pressed his face against Eminem's face, gritting his teeth and urging him, huh, okay. Sakura had to respond first, but, okay, are you hurting your leg, Mew? Why are you so weird? Sakura looked at Mew in confusion as he walked up the stairs with a strange posture point. When Chais heard this, he felt embarrassed and said, don't worry about it, it's not that easy to get injured. You can just walk normally. Eminem reminded from the side, you. Shut up, Slim. Shady, why are you so fierce? There's something, Sakura looked at Eminem even more puzzled, feeling that his temperament was a bit subtle point. Sakura was still worried that Tomoyo would quarrel with him, so she came over and hugged Tomoyo's arm and wanted to walk side by side with Tomoyo. Ahem. Tomoyo coughed twice as he pressed into Eminem's face and glared at Eminem, who pressed against his own face point. Eminem quickly laughed dryly, pulled out his arm, and emphasized, go back to the room first. Go back to the room first. Chapter 566 Method. I saw Sakura in the room, dumbfounded as she pointed at Eminem, then at Tomoyo, and pointed over and over again, but she was speechless at this time. Chais, although wearing a skirt, was sitting cross-legged on the ground, while at this time, Emma was sitting on the edge of the bed with her legs together and her calves slightly tilted. You two replaced? Sakura finally breathed out. Well, it should be replacement card. Zyroke nodded seriously at this time. It can also be said that he nodded his body. You sound like you have the pearls of wisdom in your head, but you can find a way. Why are you pretending to be so profound? Eminem complained decisively. Point Butte, it's really unique to complain in Tomoyo's voice. Could it be that Zyroang seemed to have thought of something at this moment and said with a hard face, does it take a kiss to get it back? Obviously. Sakura is connected to her precognitive dream. I saw that Emre's face immediately became nervous and shy, while Chai's had a sarcastic expression. No, it doesn't have such an obscene effect. Who do you think Lord Crowley Rideau is? Zyroke immediately denied. Amu, have you thought of something? Sakura looked at Tomoyo suspiciously. Point. Although Sakura is not very good at observing words and expressions, she is very familiar with Tomoyo, so Eminem will be discovered by Sakura if there is something abnormal in Eminem's appearance despite Tomoyo's appearance. Is there any? Eminem was still pretending to be stupid. Point. Zyroke also looked at Eminem suspiciously at this time and said, you can't be. You have a way to get it back, but you don't want to say it? TSK, you are such a dangerous man. When Eminem saw himself looking at him with Chai's eyes, he quickly shook his head and said, no, it's not that I don't want to. Okay, I admit it. Actually, I have some ideas. But I need that. It's just like what Sakura said. Ahem. You understand, right? That's right. The power of Eminem's God's Path is still there. It stands to reason that, even if Eminem's God's Path is only sequence 7, He should have strong resistance to this mysterious power especially. Substitute card is a claw card with the earth attribute, so it should be handled by Eminem. The reason why he was replaced by substitute so easily is because Tomoyo is a woman. The power of Eminem's two major pathways is biased towards yin point, although Eminem plans that, if he can be promoted to sequence 1 or 2 in the future, he will rely on jumping left and right to avoid the gender changing effects of beauty god and desolation mistress, maintain his gender, and become a boy mother. But it cannot stop the sequence of God's instinctive tendency towards yin point. Therefore, when being replaced, God's path did not resist at all. But even so, Eminem has a way. After all, your body is the best match for your spiritual body, and the power of the moon path itself includes a certain amount of use of the spiritual body point. As long as a little bit of media is set up, Eminem can exchange with Tomoyo. But now Eminem understands why Sakura would dream about that kind of thing. After hearing about Amu's method, Tomoyo shook his head repeatedly and said, "Zioken, there should be other ways, right? Of course. Just find the substitute card and seal it again." Zioken said matter-of-factly. When Sakura heard this, she breathed a sigh of relief and said, "It turns out that all you need to do is seal the claw card again. Then just be patient with me, and I will definitely find it tomorrow." She patted her chest as she spoke. Originally, Sakura thought that the scene in her dream was really going to happen, but Sakura found that, after she finished speaking, both Eminem and Tomoyo were silent. Don't say it's tomorrow. I can endure it until now, and I've already regained my composure. What did you eat at night? Eminem said, touching his belly. Tomoyo stared at him from the side. Did he really think it was his own belly? Touch it if you want. I ordered the spicy hot pot and fried skewers. What's wrong? Sakura said with a guilty conscience. Tomoyo also remembered that every time Sakura treated him to these, she usually had nothing to do, but he usually had to go to the toilet when he got home. And I'm just saying, don't drink so much every time, just because the drinks in the Pokémon Center restaurant are free. Tomoyo also complained in a rare and irritable manner at this time. Apparently Tomoyo's patience was about to reach its limit, and his legs became even more coy otherwise. Should we switch back now? This is just a connection ceremony. As long as you don't think too much, it doesn't have any special meaning. Eminem offered it at this time. Don't even think about it. Eminem looked at his face with Zyapha's cheeks, and for the first time in his life, he felt that this face deserved a beating. Then, let me help you release it first, Amu said and stood up to go to the bathroom. But he was immediately grabbed by Tomoyo. At this moment, the phone rang from the illustrated book on Tomoyo. Sonoko called me? After Chise took it out, he took a look and was surprised. No, call me. That's my illustrated book, Eminem said, stretching out his hand. But just when Tomoyo was about to hand back Eminem's illustration book, both of them were stunned. Eminem can't answer the phone now. Otherwise, Sonoko would only be able to hear Chise's voice and Eminem's tone. How about tell you Unzi? Amu asked tentatively. Absolutely not. No fourth person can know about it, Tomoyo said immediately. After all, exchanging bodies is, to a certain extent, more extreme than seeing the light. Eminem looked at his own face, trying to get angry, and he felt more and more uncomfortable. Then, what should I do? If I don't answer the phone, Yuanzi will definitely come to see me, Eminem reminded. After thinking about it for a while, Chise gritted his teeth and said, you make the gestures, and I'll do the talking. Eminem didn't think this was a good idea, but he had no choice but to do it. I saw Tomoyo take a deep breath, answer the phone, and then said to the illustrated book, "Good evening, Miss Sonoko. How is the moonlight in Kaji City?" Snapped. Eminem slapped his forehead feebly, and then fell to the ground sprawled, sitting on the bed. Tomoyo saw him like this and couldn't help but give him a kick. "Good evening. Why are you acting weird?" Yuanzi asked in confusion. This way of answering the phone was vaguely familiar. Ahem. I mean, I've been learning etiquette recently. Are you still interested in this? It can't be, because you've been with Tomoyo for a long time. No, it's not Tomoyo who asked you to learn it, right? Sonoko's tone became a little strange. pretending to be relaxed, but also filled with emotion. To obvious pretending point Tomoyo. Eminem really wanted to remind her not to speak ill of Tomoyo now, but Tomoyo was gesturing silently to Eminem repeatedly at this time. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 567, The Confused Bathroom. Tomoyo, that's how it is sometimes. Don't blame her if she talks in a pretentious manner. Tomoyo started to make fun of himself. Eminem shook his head and waved his hands, but Tomoyo ignored his gestures and started communicating with Sonoko himself using Eminem's voice. Really? Then, what do you think of Tomoyo? Sonoko asked, hiding her nervousness just now. Xiaolan reminded Sonoko that the state of Eminem and Tomoyo might be the shy stage after confessing. Yuanzi was shocked at first and said impossible, absolutely impossible, and then generously said what does it have to do with me, and finally, as a friend, I should still care about it, so this phone call was made. Chais looked at Amu at this time and found that he had stopped gesticulating again. Well, it's hard for Eminem to answer this. It's too embarrassing to describe how it feels in front of others, right? Especially Sonoko doesn't know yet that she is doing this in front of Tomoyo. It's a little bit stronger than your eldest lady, and I feel a bit hard to get along with her, but she's still a pretty good person. Tomoyo evaluated himself normally. This level of normality made Eminem look at her slightly surprised. Originally, Eminem was worried that Tomoyo would praise him too exaggeratedly, but unexpectedly, she would be so accurate in her evaluation of herself. Sakura was on the sidelines. Hearing what Tomoyo said, she instinctively wanted to refute. What? Is it difficult to have a heart-to-heart relationship with someone who knows the world? What kind of prejudice is this? Tomoyo is super sincere, but before she could say anything, Eminem quickly stood in front of her, gesturing to be silent. Seeing Tomoyo's face with such a tangled expression, Sakura calmed down. By the way, it was Tomoyo who said it just now. This is modesty. It's hard to talk to each other. Sonoko seemed to be relieved, and then immediately changed her words. No. Tomoyo is actually very kind. Hehe. I feel like you were too subtle to refute me. Tomoyo showed a faint smile at this time. Not to mention, the smile that appeared on Eminem's face was subtle and not out of place, because sometimes Eminem would also have this expression. Recently, this was the smile when he threatened Senzo on the plane. By the way, why are you somewhat estranged recently? Yuanzi asked curiously. At this time, she already believed that the abnormality had nothing to do with confession or anything like that. Barrier? No. Tomoyo said it in his own tone and Eminem's voice, which made people more and more awkward. However, before Sonoko could get confused, Tomoyo added, by the way, Sonoko, do you care about this? Do you care about Chais? Or do you care about me? Seeing that this woman was starting to play with fire, Eminem immediately crossed his arms and made an X sign to her, but Tomoyo didn't seem to notice it at this time. Hahaha, don't be shameless. I'm just wondering if Mom's classroom has been abducted by the prodigy group. Yuanzi only thought that Eminem was joking. At this moment, there seemed to be some vague Xiaolan's voice coming from the other side of the phone, talking to Yuanzi, and Yuanzi immediately said, let's stop talking about it first. My water is boiling. After saying that, she quickly hung up the phone. Eminem didn't know what Xiaolan said to her, but she shouldn't have said the water is boiling, right? What's Yuanzi doing? Eminem wondered. This phone call didn't feel like anything serious was said at all. Are you simply concerned about the gap between yourself and Tomoyo? We so obvious today. Eminem looked at himself in confusion. It's Miss Yuanzi. She seems to have thought of something. I saw a look of both intelligence and cunning on Eminem's face. Eminem held Chais's face in his face and shuddered. At this moment, Eminem's stomach let out a whine. Well, I seem to have reached my limit. Eminem's face turned purple, and he held his stomach. Don't you have a potion? Can you stop it? Tomoyo said in a panic. Pharmaceuticals can stop diarrhea, but they can't go against the laws of nature. Eminem defended. There is no medicine that can avoid the normal physiological process of excretion if you haven't eaten at all. Using nutritional medicine can avoid most of the excretion, but thousands of troops are already at the door. We have two options. Amu suggested again. But at this time, Chise gritted his teeth and pulled Amu into the bathroom. You want my help? Sakura wanted to take a look worriedly, but was shut out by Tomoyo. Just kidding. How could I let Sakura see himself? Isn't this a little weird? If someone saw it, they would think it was some strange play. No, no, no. Can I just do it? Soon, a cheerful voice sounded in the bathroom. But if you open the door and take a look, you will find that Chiyo is sitting on the toilet, with his eyes covered, his hands on his head, and Emma on the side is assisting. Well, Tomoyo didn't want to choose continuous exchange, and he didn't want Eminem to use his body to go to the toilet, so he asked Eminem to close his eyes, not to mention making any moves, and he did the whole process for himself, only looking in the mirror. The scene in front of me is indeed a bit ahem. Well, it's over. Do you want me to? Eminem put his hands on the back of his head and said guiltily, shut up. Lift up. Don't move your hands. Don't feel them. Slim. Shady. I finally feel comfortable. After her skirt was taken care of, Eminem put down her hands and was about to go out, but Tomoyo held her back. Eminem turned around and saw his face that was waiting to bloom, which was really awkward. I haven't solved it yet, Tomoyo said with a blushing face and a bit of guilt. I don't care, just do it by yourself. Amu shook his head directly, but I don't want to touch it. Slim. Shady. There was no other way, so Eminem had to operate it, and the scene in the bathroom was even more humanly confusing. Eminem has performed this set of operations countless times in his life, but this is the first time he has done it from a third perspective. Although it is indeed his own, it is still a bit weird. Eminem also had some doubts. Which one is more embarrassing, such as doing the operation for you, or doing it yourself? Cough. Tomoyo made a confused sound, and then covered it up with a dry cough. After taking much longer than usual, Eminem and Tomoyo finally came out of the bathroom. You're okay. Well, just pretend I didn't say anything. After seeing the expressions of the two of them, Sakura decisively shut up. At this time, the expressions of the two of them were a little less inconsistent, because they both had that lost light expression. Dang. Such a big welfare chapter. Please give me a monthly pass. Please give me a monthly pass. Chapter 568 Clues. Although they just went to the bathroom, Eminem and Tomoyo had the same I don't believe in the light expressions at this time. It took a long time for their brains to reconnect. Otherwise, Amu wanted to struggle again and convince Tomoyo to change back immediately. After all, this is only once, and people have to go to the toilet several times a day, even if you can't find a replacement card for several days. It also involves the question of whether to take a shower. Eminem no longer wants to operate in the third person. No. Then, the previous one won't work. Tomoyo has completely fallen into the trap of sunk costs. Now if we use that method, what will the previous efforts count? Then Tomoyo slapped his face with both hands and said, tonight. Find that bad card tonight. The photo made Eminem feel distressed. By the way, are you feeling a little weak? Tomoyo looked at Eminem questioningly. Oh, are you sleepy? Didn't Nazi come last night? I didn't sleep, Eminem said matter-of-factly. Tomoyo, originally, as an extraordinary person of the moon path, Eminem was very capable of staying up late, but now there is no such power in Amu's body. The moon path completely follows the spiritual body. When Tomoyo heard this, he couldn't help but glare at him. Why didn't you sleep at night? Snap pop. Tomoyo slapped his face hard again, making Eminem smack his lips. Let's go. Let's look for clues now, Tomoyo said forcefully. Okay. Seeing this, Sakura didn't dare to go against Tomoyo in this state. Wait, let's confirm the elf bowl before setting off, Amu suggested. At this time, Eminem had confirmed his connection with Leixi immediately before The contract between himself and Leoka was not limited by the Pokeball and relied on the power of God's path, so it was not subject to the impact, was also what Eminem expected. Point. But Eminem hasn't tried it before, whether the elf ball can be used. By the way, where did you put the Pokeball? Amu said, instinctively wanting to touch his body, but under Tomoyo's close gaze, he raised his hand. Point. At this moment, Tomoyo came over and took out the hidden Pokeball pocket from Eminem's waist. Due to the beautiful design, even if he was wearing a skirt, it was almost impossible to tell that there was a pocket. No wonder Eminem hadn't noticed it before. Only Sakura felt awkward no matter what, because from Sakura's point of view, Tomoyo raised her hand, and Eminem took out the fanny pack from her waist. Hey, does my phone work? Eminem tried the switch, and found that there was no response at all. Eminem's waist bag was on the outside, so Tomoyo took it out and pressed it, then shook his head. Seeing this, Eminem took his Pokeball from Tomoyo, and after pressing it, the small plane inside popped out. As we all know, unless it is some special Pokeball, only the trainer himself can open it. In other words, the elf ball's judgment is now very accurate. And it did not identify the wrong person, because of the change of body. Zyadaji looked at Amu, and then at Tomoyo with a puzzled face. The Pokeball can actually distinguish us? That's right, the connection between the Pokeball and the trainer is not based on the body. Eminem was surprised at first, and then suddenly realized. Originally, there was no such thing as recognizing the master with a drop of blood between the elf ball and the trainer. It was normal not to recognize the body, but only the spiritual body. As for how to achieve binding with the spiritual body, even if you ask Dr. Chumu, an expert in this field, you may not be able to explain clearly. After all, although modern Pokeball technology looks very scientific, in fact, more than 90% of its functions are achieved by relying on the properties of the raw materials. That is, the cones themselves. That's fine. It's more convenient. Amu felt that, as long as he didn't call the two bastards Ghost Stone and Pippi, it wouldn't be a big problem. Other Pokémon wouldn't laugh at his current state. By the way, and the most important thing, Amu said, taking out the lightning bird ball directly from Tomoyo's collar. Ah! Tomoyo exclaimed, then stared at Eminem. What's wrong? These are my own breasts. Amu said confidently. According to Tomoyo's previous logic, the body she was using was her body, so that's no way. Chais gritted his teeth. Slim Shady? Seeing the expression on Eminem's face, if you put two breasts together, they are all yours. I can't move either one. She couldn't help but feel guilty, but she still turned her head away. Such an unreasonable sight, but rarely appears on Tomoyo. And Eminem, of course you choose to accept it. After all, Eminem was deeply shocked when he saw himself turning his head away with a shy look on his face, and he didn't want to watch it a second time at all. After confirming that the elf balls are still used for their own purposes, including the lightning bird ball, Eminem and others are ready to take action tonight, but there is no clue about the substitute card. You can't just look around like a fool, right? Sakura scratched her head. How about you guys take a nap first, refresh yourself, and Sakura can try to see if she can dream about anything? Eminem suggested to Tomoyo and Sakura. I shouldn't be able to sleep at this time, Sakura said weakly. It was only 7 o'clock, and even if there is a precognitive dream, it is only in the early morning. Tomoyo is not satisfied. She wants a quick solution. Eminem had no choice but to turn to Zyoke and ask, does the spirit of substitute have any preferences? Zyoke said at this time, hobby, like pranks. Well, obviously likes to play pranks, but after hearing that this was a fun card, Eminem suddenly thought of something. Wait a minute. After the prank, you'll want to see what effect it has, right? Amu said quickly. So the three people quickly came to the elevator where the accident happened before, and saw that the elevator was already running normally. It is estimated that no fault was found in the Pokémon Center before, and it can only be regarded as a minor accident. Let's go back to the first scene first. If nothing else happens, I won't use the lightning bird ball, Eminem said with a little anxiety. This time it's not just Zio-Shan's fault, but Eminem doesn't want Zio-chan to know what he is like now. Among all of Eminem's Pokémon, only Ghost, Pippi, and Sparky might laugh at Eminem for this. The other Pokémon, even Little Bad Bear, don't have much human thinking. Even if they discover Eminem's, the situation will only make you feel confused. Not funny. The three of them now return to the first scene of Replacement S prank. If it really dared to come back and watch, make sure it looks good. Chapter 569 Exchange. In the elevator, Eminem and the three of them were already riding up and down, but nothing happened. Fortunately, there were not many people using the elevator at this time, and there was no surveillance, so no one noticed the strange behavior of these three people. Not there? Sakura frowned. Tomoyo also showed a somewhat anxious expression at this time. Wait, it may not mean he is not here, Eminem suddenly said at this time. Seeing Sakura and Tomoyo looking over, Eminem guessed and said, since it's a fun card, it should want to have fun. We need to perform. Performance? Tomoyo had an ominous premonition. I saw Eminem take a deep breath, and then put one hand on his hips, and pick his nose with the other, and said in a rough voice, damn it, how long will I be like this? It's freezing down there. Please put on some pants! Exclamation mark. Bastard, he said, tugging on his skirt and slapping it twice. Tomoyo, seeing himself like this, Tomoyo fell into silence. PFFT, ahem. I mean, it doesn't look like Tomoyo at all. Sakura couldn't help but laugh out loud and then change the topic under the gaze of main Tomoyo. It's just that it doesn't look like this, so it will be effective. Don't worry, the elevators here are not monitored, Eminem reminded in a low voice. Eminem deliberately showed the funniness after the exchange, hoping to attract the spirit of substitute card at this time. Chais also understood what Eminem meant, and then he just heard the voice of Amu making a heartbreaking clip sound. You don't want to be in such a dirty body. What is this? It can't be hairs, right? It's disgusting. Tomoyo held his hands in front of his chest and twisted his upper body violently. Seeing this scene, Eminem was petrified for a moment. PFFT. Ha ha ha. Sakura couldn't help but laugh out loud. Hello just when Eminem was about to stop Sakura from laughing and Tomoyo from acting anymore, suddenly the elevator shook violently as the lights in the elevator flickered. A strange laughter came out. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Ah! Sakura exclaimed at this time. It was clear that she had just laughed too much, but in a flash, the ceiling staff fell to the ground. Just when she was about to pick it up, she staggered because of her wrong posture. Hit the elevator wall. Be careful. Seeing this, Tomoyo hurriedly went to help Sakura. At this moment, in the flickering light, a small voice could be vaguely seen, holding two rings in his hand, with a snickering look on his face. He was clearly imitating Hooper. However, the spirit of substitute card only has two rings on its hands and no rings on its body. In this world, humans have only seen the punishing Hooper in games and animations, also known as Little Hooper. And although Little Hooper often plays pranks, there are only some old photos of it. As for liberating Hooper, humans don't even have legends. Even in legends, there is only one kind of Hooper. Clorido has obviously seen Hooper. All the spirits in Clo's cards of Pokémon he has seen, so he has seen a lot of mythical beasts. The spirit of substitute card was laughing slyly at this moment while trying to put the two rings on Tomoyo and Sakura, that is, on the bodies of Eminem and Sakura, but that's it. Eminem felt its presence this time when it first appeared. After all, replacement card is also an earth attribute, and Eminem can definitely handle it. In the past, it was because God's path was attracted to the feminine that caused Eminem to fail, but this time, I saw Eminem about to grab Hooper's pink little pigtails, although the lights in the elevator were flashing. For Eminem, his vision was not affected at all. However, at the same time, in desperation, she turned around and hugged Eminem, and then kissed her without any explanation. If you hesitate or think about it for a while, you probably won't be able to make a decision. But now, just when the elevator shook, the ceiling rod rolled out. From Tomoyo's point of view, he and Sakura are about to be drugged too, and if it were to change again, Sakura would enter Eminem's body, and he would enter Sakura's body. Well, thinking about himself entering Sakura's body, Tomoe finds it quite exciting, but Sakura entering Eminem's body is a bit uncomfortable, so after thinking about it, Tomoe made a decisive decision to change it back immediately. Eminem was also caught off guard. I caught the substitute card right away. Why did you suddenly attack me? It hurts. Zioing took advantage of her fall and rolled around, picked up the ceiling staff, then turned around and raised the staff with a finger. However, what caught her eyes at this time was the same scene as in the predictive dream. Sakura finally thought about the reason why she felt inconsistent after learning about the exchange between Eminem and Tomoe. Yes, it was like this in the dream. It was an active gesture by Eminem. But now Eminem is actually Tomoe. After the connection was established, Tomoe felt that his consciousness was slightly blurred, and he had returned to his body. Not only did he come out of the active position, but Tomoe also discovered what was he holding on to with one hand. This is without the power of God's path. Tomoe's body couldn't hold on to substitute card, and the spirit of substitute card quickly broke free. Eminem was also stunned by this unprecedented experience and could not react immediately. Fortunately, there was still Sakura. Although her mind went blank in shock at first, when she saw substitute break free, she immediately hit her with a hammer. Return to your original appearance. Substitute card. Sakura immediately smashed the spirit of substitute card down, turning it into a falling claw card. After Sakura caught the replacement card with a handsome gesture, she paused for 2 or 3 seconds and then said with some embarrassment, "Well, how about you two stop first?" "Ah." Amu and Shiz quickly exclaimed and pushed each other away. You just caught." Tomoe also reacted at this time. He was just looking at Sakura, and with the flickering lights, he didn't notice that Eminem had actually captured successfully, but instead, because of my impatientness, my rhythm was disrupted. And not to mention Eminem, even Sakura, look at her reaction just now. Even if Eminem is not here, Sakura will not be hit easily, but can completely solve the substitute card. Is there anyone in the elevator? Guests in the elevator, please leave the elevator immediately after opening the door. At this time, the urging voice of the security personnel on the radio broke the awkwardness. Chapter 570 Rumors. After coming out of the elevator, Tomoe was helped back to the room by Sakura with his eyes dull. "Actually, it's nothing. As long as we don't give it any special meaning, it's just an ordinary body movement," Eminem advised from the side point. After being glanced at by Sakura, Eminem decisively separated from the two of them and returned to the room alone. "Why aren't you sleeping yet?" "Oh, it's still early." Seeing that ZioAI was still experimenting, Eminem instinctively wanted to urge him, but he suddenly remembered that it was not yet 8 o'clock. But after ZioAI turned around this time, she kept staring at Eminem's face. What's wrong?" Amu asked inexplicably, feeling guilty. "I always feel like this is a face where some kind of desire has been satisfied. Didn't you do something perverted?" ZioAI looked at Eminem suspiciously. "That's nonsense. I'm going to collect claw cards and save the world with Sakura," Eminem said at the end, his voice breaking. "Oh, really?" ZioAI nodded calmly. And Eminem has already hid in the bathroom. Looking in the mirror, Eminem looked at his face carefully. Was he satisfied? How can it be? I was just stunned. Correct. Eminem suddenly thought of an excuse. Phew, an important reason. It is likely that, after exchanging bodies for a while, God's path's yearning for the feminine was satisfied to a certain extent, so it was reflected in his own temperament, and ZioAI was keenly aware of it. Yes, that must be it. Early the next morning, when Eminem was preparing to go to the battle club, he found that the elevator was still under maintenance, probably 2 consecutive failures, which made the Pokémon Center in Kaji City determined to find out the problem. But it shouldn't be found. When Eminem came to the battle club and borrowed the training room this time, his training plan also changed slightly because he got the substitute card. Despite the mischievous behavior of the angry substitute card spirit, it still needs to be used. Substitute card not only has magical abilities, but also has 3 skills: swap site, characteristic exchange, and substitute. Eminem suspected that special ability was the fusion awakening effect of swap site plus characteristic exchange. Among them, stand-in can be regarded as a more commonly used self-protection skill, and swap site and characteristic exchange, although relatively rare, will play a huge role in some special situations. Moreover, the substitute card is an earth-type cloak card. For Eminem, it is ready to use. Today, Eminem popularized substitute card for all Pokémon who can learn substitute, but have not yet learned it. In the blink of an eye, Eminem has been training in Kaji City for 3 days. During this period, Sakura did not have any more dreams. She sent messages to Nazi, but she did not reply. On November 28th, Eminem planned to set off tomorrow to the Lake of Anger in the north of Kaji City Point during dinner. Eminem also mentioned this matter. You going to the Lake of Anger? We are going to. Yuanzi raised his hands decisively. This is not beyond Eminem's expectation. The Lake of Anger is very large, and the southeast side of it is a tourist resort with a large camping area. Only going north and west will lead to an area with no ordinary tourists, only trainers. Although it is a lake, there are many land bridges in it, so you can enter the lake North Point. Even if it rains heavily, the water level will not reach the top of the trees, not to mention that trainers who go to the Lake of Anger usually have water Pokémon, so generally speaking, it is not very dangerous, of course, because there are many violent Pokémon such as Gyarados in the depths, and the land bridge will indeed be flooded in heavy rain, so the risk is still higher than in ordinary places. Sonoko and Xiaolan are just going to the camping area by the lake, while Tomoyo and his party will go northwest. But aren't you looking for a baby wild boar? Shouldn't you be looking around the lake shore? Yuanzi asked curiously. No, although the Lake of Anger does not freeze due to its own special characteristics, it is actually a very cold water, and some fungi can easily grow on the land bridge. This is the food that little mountain pigs like, so in the lake you can also find baby boars on the land bridge, explained Damu. Moreover, in the west of Lake of Anger, the land bridges are denser. Speaking of the Lake of Anger, there seem to be some rumors recently. Xiaolan suddenly said at this time. Xiaoai paused with the spoon in her hand, seeming a little concerned. What? Rumors? Eminem asked quickly. I heard from people before that more trainers were injured in the Lake of Wrath this month, and someone said they saw a red Gyarados there. Xiaolan said confidently. Eminem has been in the battle club these days, but he hasn't heard about this, so he looked at Sakura and Tomoyo standing aside. Ordinarily, the two of them should pay attention to some news about Lake of Anger, right? But seeing Eminem looking over, Sakura rolled her eyes at him, while Tomoyo pretended not to notice and continued eating, but unknowingly, she increased the frequency of eating. Obviously, they didn't pay much attention to Lake of Anger in the past 3 days. The red Gyarados. Eminem frowned slightly. It is said that the red appearance of Gyarados is just a phenomenon of heterochromia, although it is rare. Eminem has not seen it before. Nido is a heterochromatic Nidoking. It's just that the red Gyarados has some extra meaning. Gyarados was also called Angry Dragon in ancient times, which is also the origin of the name Lake of Anger. It is said that in ancient times, some older Gyarados were even able to fly, not leaping like now, but truly flying. Note 1, because it often soars in the rain clouds, it was considered by the ancients to be a symbol of rainy days, giving it some special meaning. The red Gyarados has always had the image of disaster. There is no scientific basis for this, just because the theory has been around for a long time. The sudden appearance of a red Gyarados is inevitably disturbing, and there have been many incidents of Gyarados injuring people recently. Eminem thought about it, and first sent a text message to Miwako to ask. Miwako quickly replied, but being injured by a wild Pokémon in the wild is not a good thing. Then Eminem suddenly remembered that if the Pokémon in a certain area suddenly became unreasonably restless, it should be the duty of the ranger, right? So I sent another message to Hinata. Are you also near the Lake of Anger? After seeing Hinata's reply, Eminem knew he had asked the right person. Note 1. Regarding whether Gyarados can fly, in the game Legend of Arceus, Gyarados can be seen flying in the sky, but in the animation, Gyarados does not fly, and whether it is in the new 3D animated version of Mewtwo Strikes Back, and the live-action version of Detective Pikachu, there are scenes of Gyarados crawling on the ground. It really doesn't look like it can fly, so this is how it is set in this book. There may be a powerful flying Gyarados behind. In addition, continue to ask for monthly tickets. Ask for monthly tickets, and ask for double monthly tickets, while there is still time. Chapter 571 Witness. November 29th. In the north of Kaji City, at an intersection in the suburbs, Hinata waved her hands to Eminem and others. Here, I'm really sorry. It's obviously my responsibility, but I ask you for help again. No, we are going to the Lake of Anger, and I happen to hear something. If we have you, the ranger, with us, we will feel more at ease. Amu said politely. When Hinata replied to the text message last night, Eminem guessed that she should be sent by the Rangers Association to investigate the anomalies in the Lake of Anger. These two, and this kid are. Hinata looked at Sonoko, Xiaolan, and Conan at this time. This is Yuanzi, Xiaolan, and the naughty Conan children. They will go to the Lake of Anger with us, but they will only go to the camping area. Eminem introduced. Miss Hinata is a ranger. So awesome. This is the first time I've seen such a young ranger. Sonoko and Xiaolan also exchanged pleasantries with Hinata. Sister Hinata, is the situation at the Lake of Wrath very tense recently? Conan asked, pretending to be a child. Don't worry, the camping area is still very safe now, but you can't run around alone. Hinata reminded. It's safe, I hope. Eminem muttered softly. It might have been safe before, but that may not be the case now that Conan has gone. I hope there will be a theft case or something like that to prevent lives being lost. Huh? What? Hinata hadn't heard clearly yet. Nothing. What about outside the camping area? Amu changed the topic. It doesn't seem good. There have been many injuries to trainers. Although injuries are normal during wild training trips, it is true that in recent months, the frequency of injuries caused by Gyarados in the Lake of Wrath has increased significantly. Hinata said at this time. In fact, there was an abnormality in the Lake of Anger. Looking back, there were signs a few months ago, but Gyarados is originally a relatively violent Pokémon. At the beginning, everyone didn't pay much attention to this. Since they chose to travel in the Lake of Anger, they should be prepared for this. However, after a few months, judging from the data, the number of injuries increased too much, and the trend was getting worse, so it attracted the attention of the Rangers Association, and specially assigned Hinata, who was nearby, to investigate. It's a coincidence, but it's not that coincidental. After all, compared to trainers, the number of rangers is very rare, not to mention the young trainers who are traveling. There are probably hundreds of thousands of young trainers traveling in each region. Most of them give up after just 1 year of trying. True professional trainers are relatively rare. But even so, accumulated year by year, there are more than 10,000 registered professional trainers around the world, with as many as thousands in each region, and as few as several hundred, among which the easier ones are. The way to qualify is to reach the quarterfinals of the regional rookie competition. Eminem can actually register, but Eminem hopes to debut as the winner of the rookie competition, so he did not register after the Kanto rookie competition. Those registered are officially recognized professional trainers. In addition, there are even more private unregistered trainers whose performance is not enough to be recorded, but who have been working quietly and regarding training as a profession on their own. In contrast, the ranger, there are only a few hundred people in the world. The number of patrolmen who are currently in the northern part of the Johto area and are responsible for incidents of this level can be counted on one hand. It is normal to see familiar faces. Based on your experience as a ranger, is this kind of thing common? On the way, Amu asked Hinata for confirmation. It can't be said to be common, otherwise there is no need to check specifically. It's just, generally, 80% of the abnormalities in the wild that I'm responsible for checking are related to wild Pokemon's unusual movements and violent tempers. Hinata explained. Well, that's a relatively common and rare situation. Hinata is indeed not asking for help this time, but heard that Eminem and others were coming, so she proposed to go with them. However, Eminem discovered that, although ZOAI pretended not to care at all, she was actually paying attention to Hinata's words. Eminem can also guess that ZOAI must be thinking about the Dark Organization, and even suspects that the strange behavior in the Lake of Anger may be related to the Dark Organization's secret research institute here. Based on your experience, the reason why Gyarados became violent this time may be, Amu asked tentatively. The specific reason is still unclear, but judging from the location of the accident, which is concentrated in the northwest of the Lake of Anger, it should not be a problem with the entire Gyarados group, but only a few specific Gyarados. That is, it's not caused by weather or other wide area influences, considering that there are still frequent sightings of red Gyarados. Many of those who were attacked claimed that they had seen red Gyarados before being attacked. It is possible that the rampaging Gyarados was a heterochromatic one of individuals, however, this is not certain yet. After all, the red Gyarados. There are some special sayings among the people. It may be the person who was attacked. There may be something wrong with the memory of others I have visited and verified before. In all the witness records, there is no actual close witness. The trainer who was attacked was also attacked by a group of Gyarados at night. It was not a red Gyarados, but some. Even when I recalled it afterwards, I said I saw a red shadow. Hinata's statement was rigorous. Indeed, the impression of the red Gyarados as a symbol of disaster is deeply ingrained. It is possible to overthink it afterwards, especially when someone has said so before. Eminem also echoed Hinata's statement. ZOAI, who was silent on the side, suddenly said, due to some kind of bad experiment, Gyarados mutated into a different color, and his personality became more irritable. Is this possible? Hinata was stunned when he heard this. Excessive genetic mutation of Pokémon will cause changes in emotions. This is why many experiments are banned by the Alliance. ZOAI added calmly. ZOAI. Ziolan looked at ZOAI worriedly. Did Eminem's sister grow up in a gloomy environment? Why do you always have scary thoughts? It's true that it can't be said to be impossible, but the current sightings of the red Gyarados are too vague. Some even say that they saw people riding red Gyarados in the land bridge forest in the lake. The ghost of the dragon's red-clothed woman. Hinata specifically gave an example to prove that it's not that scary. The ghost of the woman in red? Xiaolan and Yuanzi exclaimed at the same time. You can tell by looking at the expressions of the two of them. Hinata's comfort had the opposite effect. Chapter 572. It's a pity it's not the sea. There is no ghost, so I must have seen it wrong. Hinata didn't believe this, but because of this nonsense, she felt that the red Gyarados was not credible either. But why do you say it's a ghost? Amu asked in confusion. Because some said it was floating above the head of the red Gyarados, and some said it was translucent. In short, it sounded like they were too nervous. Hinata did not accuse them of lying. Hinata, who often deals with these things, understands that people in panic will always involuntarily make up some things in their minds, or exaggerate what they see in their subsequent descriptions. This is not a question of character, but of human nature. However, these incidents basically occurred in the west of the Lake of Anger, especially in the northwest, so the camping areas in the south were not affected much. There are even more tourists than in previous years. When Amu and others arrived at the camping area in the afternoon, they found that it was still very lively. The heavy rain on the lake did not dampen the enthusiasm of the people in the lakeside camping area. Fortunately, the garden had reserved a spot in advance. Come and squeeze in. It seems like it's impossible to wait for a seat, Yuanzi said to Eminem and others. Because Eminem didn't want to stay here longer, he naturally didn't book a seat in advance. But the west of the Lake of Anger, it was raining heavily, and it was getting dark soon, so Amu and Hinata were in no hurry to continue setting off. But there are no more places in the camping area, although it is not impossible to rest outside the camping area. Firstly, the environment is not comparable. And secondly, dining, bathing, and supplies are more convenient in the camping area. The space reserved in the garden is quite large, and it can fit 2 more tents. Hinata can squeeze in with Tomoyo and Sakura. As expected of the Lake of Anger, there are indeed endless wonders. After setting up the tent, Amu also looked at the heavy rainstorm on the lake in the distance. It rains all year round in the Lake of Anger, and whenever it rains, it is always a heavy rain. There is no light rain or snow at the same time. The scope of each rainfall is generally not large, and it is concentrated on the lake. For example, from the lakeside, you can see a rain cloud in the distance covering the west, and underneath the rain cloud is a scene of heavy rain. At this time, the lake level has risen slightly. There are artificially constructed elevations in the camping area, so there is no fear of the lake overflowing. Let's go to the observation deck and watch it together. Yuanzi actively invited. Well, there's nothing I can do to help, right? Amu asked Tomoyo, who was cooking. No, dinner will be served in half an hour, Tomoyo said without looking back. Seeing this, Sonoko looked at Tomoyo with a little doubt. She always felt that the distance between the two people had become very subtle. It was hard to say whether it had increased or shrunk when eating before. If ZyoAI was not there, the trio would usually have Tomoyo sitting in the middle, with Eminem and Sakura on both sides. But recently, Tomoyo seems to be moving away from Eminem's seat. At the same time, at certain times, Sonoko will subtly feel that the distance between the two has become closer. For example, when Tomoyo speaks to Eminem, he starts not using honorifics, but Yuanzi didn't think much about it. After all, he had already asked Eminem before. Sister Yuanzi, I want to go too, ZyoAI suddenly said. At this time she tried her best to act like a child, but not as natural as Conan. Conan also looked over in confusion at this time. Of course he knew that ZyoAI was not a child, so how could he deliberately act like a light bulb? Huh. Okay, of course. Haha. Of course, Yuanzi couldn't say anything. After hearing that Chishi said that he had nothing to do, Amu went to the viewing area by the lake with Zyoe and Yuanzi. Eminem can naturally guess why ZyoAI is pestering him. It involves a dark organization, so of course ZyoAI is cowarded. At this time, the camping and viewing area has the most people. Normally, tourists in the camping area will spread out. Many people don't like to crowd in the crowded viewing area, but will find the lakeside, where there are no people. However, the Lake of Anger is not peaceful now, and it is a time of heavy rain and rising water. Most ordinary tourists have not left the camping area. Many people brought binoculars and exaggerated cameras, presumably hoping to see and photograph the legendary red Gyarados. Now most people are looking in the direction of the heavy rain, and many people are pointing their telescopes at the sky. Are they looking at the rain clouds? Yuanzi asked in confusion upon seeing this. No, I'm probably looking for the flying Gyarados, Eminem said. Today's Gyarados are very few that can soar into the clouds and truly fly. Only strong enough Gyarados can do that. It is rarely seen in the wild, but it is still possible to see it in the Lake of Anger, the largest Gyarados habitat in the world. Gyarados especially likes to fly on rainy days, which is different from other bird Pokémon. So when it rains heavily, everyone will look up at the rain clouds. The Lake of Anger during heavy rains really feels like the ocean, Sonoko said with emotion. At this time, the Lake of Anger, like the sea, cannot see the edge. Only through the occasional lightning and thunder can one see the horizontal line connecting the sea and rain clouds in the distance. Indeed, Eminem nodded at this time, but only when it rains heavily. At this time, the lake's surface has risen due to rain, so it can be regarded as endless. When the water surface is normal, there are crisscrossing land bridges with trees growing on them, which is equivalent to some small forests on the lake. It's not so endless anymore. Now that the water is rising, only a little of the tops of the trees can be seen. The Lake of Anger is indeed the largest lake in the Quartz Alliance, with an endless air cap, quite a bit like an inland sea. But it's a pity it's not the real sea, Eminem said with emotion. The lake is just a lake. Not only is it not that big, but also, it cannot be counted as a sea, which means, are you worried about Gyarados mania? Yuanzi reacted quickly this time, and heard what Eminem meant very accurately. That's right. Since it's not the sea, then the god of the sea effect on the dragon scale talisman cannot be exerted. Yuanzi, who was also on board the Santanu, naturally understands the meaning of the C to Eminem point. If he wasn't worried that he might be in danger later, Eminem wouldn't feel this way point after feeling. Zio AI beside him, who was a little nervous now, Eminem said decisively, "No, it's not really worrying. Even if it's not in the sea, it's the same with so many Gyarados. Indeed, the effect of another dragon ancestor is enough to make Eminem run rampant here. This is why Eminem is not worried about the red Gyarados or the secret research institute at all point, not to mention other Pokémon. Although Gyarados is not a dragon type, it is undoubtedly a dragon point in Lake of Anger. Eminem can definitely display the abilities that only the strongest ranger can have." Chapter 573 Temporary Antidote. Half an hour later, when Amu, Yuanzi, and Xiaoyi came back, they found that there were many people surrounding the place next to their tent. When Eminem came over, Tu Junsha happened to be escorting a prisoner away, but there was no ambulance. It was probably just a theft point. It seems that, while waiting for dinner, Conan even rushed into a wave of KPIs after dinner. Conan went out of his way to find Eminem in private. "You and Zio AI, are you hiding something from me?" Conan asked keenly point after hearing this. Eminem's face became solemn, and he said seriously, "Zio AI and I basically haven't told you anything, right, Conan?" "Hey, you still have the nerve to say that? Damn it. So at least tell me about the Dark Organization," Conan said frantically. "The Dark Organization is very dangerous. You can't control it." Amu shook his head seriously. "Do I want to care about this? Open your eyes and see what I look like now. I've been in it for a long time. If you two change me back, I won't care about it now," Conan said deliberately. "Well, I can only say that the matter we are targeting now has nothing to do with you. It is just a secret research institute of Team Flare, and it has probably been abandoned." After hearing this, Eminem had no choice but to deal with him first. "Secret research institute? It's indeed related to them. I'll go too," Conan said immediately. "No, there is no need to solve the case. Your Pokémon is not very powerful in frontal combat. No need, no need," Eminem said with disgust. By the way, Zio AI seems to have said that she recently researched a temporary antidote to App 9527, but if you are so impulsive, it may not be suitable for use," Eminem said deliberately. Conan, who was originally in a menacing mood, suddenly froze when he heard the words, "temporary antidote." Really, it's not quite accurate to say it's an antidote. After all, it's not a medicine, otherwise I would have refined it long ago. It's a power that can make you evolve temporarily. Mega, you can understand it as mega evolution, Eminem said vaguely. "Can you really make me change back?" Conan asked quickly. "Yes, but like mega evolution, it's only temporary." Eminem nodded. "Give it to me." Conan turned into a hand stretcher. "It's still a little bit close, so you'd better not cause trouble recently and just play here honestly with your sister Xiaolan," Eminem said point under the temptation of the antidote. Conan had no choice but to agree. First point. When Eminem returned to the tent, Zio AI asked proactively, "Did he notice it?" "Huh. It's possible, but I've already solved it," Eminem said confidently. "Really? Are you sure he won't follow you quietly?" Zio AI confirmed with some worry. "No, and I solved it with two birds with one stone. Didn't you tell me before that the human evolution stone created by referring to the mega evolution method is still unstable and lacks experimental data, but you don't know how to tell that kid? I just took this as a condition." Eminem praised his wisdom. Zio AI, after confirming that Conan would not secretly follow him, the heavy rain on the lake had stopped early the next morning. Amu and his team rushed to the west of the Lake of Anger together within it a point at this time. Under the sun, the Lake of Anger was shining brightly, no longer as violent as yesterday point, and after the rain stopped, the water level dropped rapidly. Now you can see the land bridge on the lake and the small woods on the land bridge, especially on the west side. The forest in the lake seems denser. Eminem and his party stepped onto the somewhat muddy land bridge, walked through the forest, and explored the lake point. The special landform makes exploring the Lake of Anger much easier, and you don't even need a boat. The crisscrossing land bridges divide the lake into small pieces of water. There's No road ahead. I'm calling some goldfish kings to carry us there. Hinata said at this time point. That's right. If you encounter a place like this where the land bridge is not connected, you can also directly take flying or aquatic Pokémon to cross their point. Although the motor lizard can also swim, the water temperature here is too cold for the motor lizard. If not necessary, Amu also tends to find some wild Pokémon to help point on the surface. Amu and his team did not carry enough aquatic Pokémon, and only Togekiss could carry people. Shuttlecock could not carry people at all point, but Hinata can actually call on wild Pokémon to help. And no, there is a Gyarados nearby. I just called to ask. Along the way, Eminem used the induction effect of Dragon Ancestor, and he felt more and more like there was a crouching tiger, hidden dragon in this lake of anger. Along the way, Eminem has discovered several king level wild Gyarados, and there was even one that, after being sensed by Eminem, quickly moved away, a property only possessed by great king level Pokémon. Can Gyarados be used too? Hinata asked in surprise. Gyarados is a representative of Pokémon with bad temper. Even though she is a genuine ranger and uses a specialized hunting cursor, she is not so easy to drive. Give it a try, Eminem said humbly. I saw Eminem walking to the water's edge and stretching out his hand. After a while, 3 huge shadows swam under the water. First there was a burst of foaming, and then 3 huge Gyarados broke out of the lake, with their upper bodies standing upright. Pokémon in the water, especially aquatic Pokémon living in wide waters, generally vary greatly in size. For Gyarados, the average body length in captivity is 6.5 meters. The 3 wild ones in front of me are probably about 10 meters in length. The ones Eminem called are also quasi-king level wild Gyarados. Moreover, Gyarados is different from snakes in that its body is very thick. At this time, the upper body is exposed, coupled with the face that seems to be always angry. It is still very shocking. Did the call really come? Or 3 of them? Hinata asked in surprise. At this time, Eminem first put his hands on their angry looking faces one by one, and then they don't know anything about the red Gyarados. In recent months, there are often Pokémon going crazy in the north of the lake. They have only heard about it. Eminem asked them about it. Recent things, sure enough. It seems that the accident happened further north. Hinata nodded. After hearing this, Hinata had also inquired about some small Pokémon and flying Pokémon in the land bridge forest before, but he didn't get much. After all, the Lake of Anger was very big, and Hinata and Amu's current location was very far to the south. Yes, and the Pokémon that live on the land bridge usually don't go into the water. Then, let's continue heading north first, Eminem said. The little mountain pig Eminem is looking for is also more on the north shore. Amu and Zioai, Tomoyo and Sakura, and Hinata herself. The group rode on the Gyarados and continued to explore north. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 574 Discovery. On December 2nd, 3 days had passed since Eminem and his party entered the Lake of Anger. At first they thought of camping on the land bridge of the Lake of Anger. Tomoyo and Sakura were glad that there would be no shortage of fresh water. After all, they were all on narrow land and there was water within a few steps of walking everywhere. They thought it would be better than usual camping. The place is more comfortable, at least I can bathe freely. But after the first night, they no longer thought so. It was too trendy here. Fortunately, the tent in Daidaiji shopping mall has the function of a tree house and can be fixed on the branches, which is better at this time. The place where the group of people camped was already in the northwest of the entire Lake of Anger in the past 2 days. Eminem has obtained some information from the Gyarados, and there have been some subtle changes. Red Gyarados is still missing, and no Gyarados has been seen at all, but there are some clues about the intermittent Pokémon mania. Even the Gyarados Eminem met last night said that he had also lost consciousness inexplicably and recovered shortly afterwards. The only impression he had was that he seemed to see some kind of purple smoke before losing consciousness, but neither the Gyarados nor the other Pokémon in the lake obviously care much about this, because this unknown smoke only makes them high for a while, and the fight it causes is not violent. Gyarados is a violent Pokémon known as Raging Dragon in ancient times. This situation to them, it is just a general top point. Hinata suspected that the Pokémon mania caused by this unknown smoke is likely to have a certain degree of recognition, and will not cause too severe conflicts between wild Pokémon, but it will double the hostility towards humans. That's why even with the sudden increase in casualties among human trainers, the local wild Pokémon don't feel that much. After all, this effect sounds like it is only temporary. If there are no humans around during the affected period, they will probably just fight wildly and disperse. This is a daily routine for Gyarados, considering the evolutionary conditions of King Magikarp. Maybe this is a good thing for the Gyarados clan. Early in the morning, Tomoe had just woken up and saw Eminem communicating with the Gyarados he had just found by the water again. Hinata was on the side. After seeing Eminem patting the opponent's head, the Gyarados had turned around and left, and quickly asked, "How is it?" It also lost consciousness once. "It's the same as what I heard last night. It saw purple smoke. It doesn't seem to be an illusion." Eminem confirmed, "It seems it is very likely that dangerous gas created by someone has leaked." Hinata said solemnly. At this time obtaining similar clues twice in a row made Hinata more and more certain and leakage of dangerous substances created by humans has affected Pokémon in the wild. Hinata has dealt with many similar things, and it can be said that it is a classic point. It's just that this time the dangerous substance, judging from the reactions of the wild Gyarados, was obviously much more high-end and a type she had never heard of, and it also mentioned that the purple smoke is released from things the size of pebbles. Eminem added, "Release? Could it be that someone is deliberately poisoning?" Hinata was shocked when he heard this. No, according to what it said, the thing was found at the bottom of the lake. After a goldfish king accidentally touched it, purple smoke spread at the bottom of the lake. Amu corrected, "Can it also spread at the bottom of the lake?" It seems that the diffusion function has been specially developed. It is indeed a man-made dangerous substance. Could it be Team Rocket? Hinata's guess is reasonable. After all, this is the Johto area, and if something like this happens, Team Rocket will definitely be blamed for it. It's possible, but that guy Sakaki should be busy working on the Kanto League Championship. It will be announced during the Chinese New Year, right? Eminem agreed without sincerity, and also raised doubts, but after all, Eminem has nothing to do with Team Rocket. He didn't explain much to them, and he didn't mean to endorse Team Rocket. Maybe the Dark Organization's Secret Research Institute here also cooperates with Team Rocket. Of course, looking at ZioAI's expression now, Eminem understands that the first responsible party must be Team Flare. While Tomoe was making breakfast and Hinata was looking for clues around, Amu specially took ZioAI back to the tent and began to investigate alone. "Well, that's right. When it was said to be purple smoke yesterday, I had some doubts. Today's Gyarados told you that it was purple smoke compressed in the capsule? In this case, they used it when experimenting with Eevee. It's very similar to a catalytic mutation potion." ZioAI said seriously, "Huh? Ibrahimovic's experiment, wasn't it led by you?" Eminem said in a tone of "it's as if you didn't exist." When ZioAI heard this, she couldn't help but glance at him, and then changed her words. "Yes. It's a catalytic mutation potion used by us. Is that okay?" After that, ZioAI emphasized, "But I took the lead. It was only a few months ago, and less than a year ago. This experimental plan has been going on for a long time. I also directly contributed to many of the early experimental results. The finished product of contact. After all, ZioAI's real age is only 17 years old. The reason why ZioAI mentions this is not to shirk responsibility, but to tell Eminem that the mutation evolution experiment represented by the Ibrahimovic experiment has been carried out for a long time, and is not completed in one step. There are still many early results. In other words, it is very possible that the results produced by the Secret Research Institute of Lake of Anger were used in the Eevee experiment. But what do they want to do now? What good will it do to them to attract the attention of the Rangers Association? If Hinata can't solve it, the situation will continue to escalate until it alerts the Quartz Alliance and Junsha headquarters, right? Amu wondered. Eminem has yet to discover what benefit it would have to the Dark Organization or Team Flare to spread this kind of thing. No, it's also possible that they have already evacuated, leaving behind only some samples that were lost when they evacuated. Another possibility is that their research institute is also in trouble. ZioAI said, already evacuated. Amu was stunned when he heard this. After all, I have heard about this research institute. Although I only heard about it by chance and don't know the specific situation at all. But, with their caution, it is not impossible to evacuate directly. ZioAI reminded, paused after a pause. He also said, but the only one who firmly believes that I'm not dead is Jin. Even if the research institute here is withdrawn, it is probably not firm. If you calculate it this way, the time is right. The abnormality first appeared a few months ago, but in the past month, it has become more and more serious. Eminem thought of what Hinata said before. Chapter 575. It's indeed Team Rocket. Fog. December 4th. In an underground building in the northwest of Lake of Anger. Idiot. Leave those large equipment alone. Blow them all up immediately. Jin angrily urged a group of researchers. However, the researchers here are also very dire-like. A man in a white coat, who seems to be a small person in charge, and Jin are also thrashing about. No matter the data, the results, the equipment, they must be taken away. Exclamation mark. It's all because you, Team Flare, are not reliable. Fradley needs to give Mr. H an explanation for this matter. Explain? Okay. Jin directly pulled out the strong shield sword monster from the necklace point previously in Kanto. Jin's other two main forces, Guard Dragon and Steel Armor Crow, were captured, but the most important thing is that his true partner shield sword monster is still there. What are you going to do? I was invited by Mr. Howard. I saw Jinjiu kill the leader of the opponent with a sword when others wanted to come forward to persuade him, and, from the leader to being held up by his head, blood splattered all over the room. The researchers around him couldn't help but exclaimed, and even the female researcher screamed, actually, we are. Others wanted to accuse Jin point, but Jin just said coldly, now, everyone listen to my command. Evacuate immediately. You can only carry what you can take with you. If there is anything else you want to take away, just stay with it. Still, does anyone need me to say it a third time? Seeing that these guys have become honest, Jin doesn't dare to silence them all. After all, these are not people from the Dark Organization. Jin is also helpless. ZioAI's guess was correct. When Jin realized that Shirley might not be dead, he reported it to the Dark Organization and coordinated the removal of all secret research institutes that Shirley might know about. Indeed, during that time, explosions occurred in several secret research institutes. However, Jin is not sure whether Shirley knows about this research institute in Lake of Anger. It is said that there is no connection with Shirley. It is just because some of the research results here have been used in Shirley. During the supervisor's experiment, Shirley might know something about it. Just in case. I also applied for removal. But this research institute does not belong to the Dark Organization itself. Instead, they cooperated with Stan Industries to conduct secret research on the Gyarados here. The reason Jin's intuition can convince the boss of the Dark Organization, but it cannot convince Howard, the head of Stan Industries. Therefore, only this part of the Dark Organization evacuated a few months ago. Although Stan Industries agreed to some of its requests, the other party also agreed to abandon the research institute, but it took its time. Moreover, after the people of the Dark Organization withdrew, the guys from Stan Industries actually made a farce of poor storage of experimental materials. A month ago, someone followed the clues and discovered this secret research institute. Although the position was not completely locked, under external pressure, the people from Stan Industries moved away a little faster. However, they made mistakes in the rush, and even when the first batch of the most important experimental materials were moved away, they were moved by the other party. It was discovered that a batch of experimental materials were lost during the attack. This is why wild Pokémon became manic in the Lake of Anger a few months ago, and it has become more and more intense in the past month. Reluctantly, the Dark Organization sent Jin to help with the aftermath. Now that he heard the other party beeping, blaming Team Flare and Dark Organization for these mistakes, and yelling at him, Jin felt unaccustomed to his fault on the spot, but Jin doesn't dare to silence everyone. After all, this mouth can't be extinguished, and Stan Industries is also an important partner of Team Flare. If one or two die, the boss can still handle it. If the attack is too harsh, no one knows what kind of madness that old guy Harwood will get. 4 hours ago, Lake of Anger, on the Northwest Lake, Tomoyo, Sakura and ZioAI were sitting on a Gyarados, looking at the lake, as if they were waiting for something. Gilulu, after blowing bubbles for a while, Amu and Hinata emerged from the water. The two of them were each holding a wild King Magikarp at this time, as a diving aid. King Magikarp is more convenient than Gyarados. How is it? ZioAI asked quickly. There was also some doubt in Chai's eyes. She felt that ZioAI was too concerned about the Lake of Anger. This was something she had never seen in ZioAI before. I finally found one, Amu said, raising a capsule-shaped mechanism in his hand that seemed to be made of metal. In the past 2 days, Eminem rushed to several places where purple smoke appeared before, trying to find if there was anything left behind. Today, he finally made progress. For such a small goal, he activated Gyarados, and King Magikarp looking for it is of little use. Gyarados is not attentive enough to begin with, and the IQ of King Magikarp makes it even more difficult to distinguish the difference between such fine parts and ordinary pebbles without a sample. They are suitable for finding some more obvious targets. After getting onto the land bridge nearby, ZioAI quickly took the metal capsule from Amu's hand. Hey. Hinata panicked when she saw this. Is this something that can be played with by children? Although the material inside seems to have been emitted, no one knows whether there will be any residue. It's okay. ZioAI is very good. Amu comforted her. Hinata expressed that she didn't understand, but fortunately, after ZioAI looked at it carefully, she handed the metal capsule back, shook her head to Eminem in a vague way, and nodded again. Shaking his head means he's not sure, but nodding his head, it's very possible that this thing is the finished material of the EV experiment that Shirley conducted before. This is indeed Team Rocket, Hinata said with great certainty after taking it and looking at it. Eminem was stunned when he heard this. ZioAI didn't even notice it, but you actually saw it at a glance. Look, it says here. Hinata said confidently. Slim Shady, it's really an irrefutable reason. This seemingly small metal capsule does have an R printed on the middle switch, but can this really be considered evidence? Whether it is Team Rocket or not, it seems that it will be revealed soon. Eminem was suddenly stunned at this moment, and then looked to the north. Did you find their lair? Hinata asked quickly. That's right. Gyarados discovered that about 20 miles away from here, there are a large number of humans on the north shore, coming in and out from a place that should be the villa area. Eminem has been doing this these days, driving Gyarados and King Magikarp to conduct reconnaissance. Villa area? I know. It must be there. There was originally a vacation villa for rent on the northwest shore of the Lake of Anger, but later it was abandoned due to poor management and being flooded by high water several times. If there was a lot of people coming in and out, Hinata has also speculated that there is probably some hidden building there, probably underground. From the beginning, the construction of the villa should just be a cover, but do you want to inform? Hinata hesitated at this time. A head-on attack on the secret base of an evil organization is somewhat beyond the ranger's responsibilities and abilities. It's too late. By the time support arrives, they will have already fled to who knows where. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.